Good evening, everyone. You know that sound. It is our NFL draft show. Welcome to Team NBS Media. My name is Ashmir Prasad, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in for our annual NFL draft show. We're going to have a lot of fun. We have heard of so many speculations going on already. But before we jump into what is to come, let me bring in my team. Of course, the Draft Central squad. We've got Jeff Barnes and Greg Rector to talk everything that's going to happen this evening. How are you guys? Long time no see.
It is payoff day, the first day of payday for us. We talk about the draft all year, running the games, going through film, coming up with doing all the reports, going to bowl games, all that stuff, paying attention to the workouts. All pays off for these next 3 days when we start to see where the future of these franchises is going to be.
Absolutely. Watching as much film as I have, today is now Christmas. I don't have to watch any more tape for quite a while, and I'm happy about that. But let's see what happens here in Green Bay.
I'm excited. I've already seen, as you guys have already seen, the Browns are trying to make a trade. There's Tom Brady's included heavily in the Raiders draft pick. Like, no one would have thought that if you were among the Raider franchise. So it feels like there's just a lot of things cooking, which I'm excited for. I think every year we love the draft. We just love seeing players after all of their hard work get picked to a team. And the first round, I mean, you guys have been talking for weeks about your predictions, your picks. And you've been talking to guys that could be in the second and third round. So I feel like today for you, you're like, we all know these people, but the next 2 days, I feel like are where the three of you really shine. And it comes through to like, what is going to change a team that actually needs change? How much did they actually look into the people you guys have already spoke with or talked about on the draft show? So if everyone's been tuning in, you should be very knowledgeable of what is going to happen in the next 3 days.
Well,
I do want to ask though.
Go ahead,
Greg.
I'm just saying that's something that Jeff, Bill, and I do quite well. Is we talk about the guys who are going to be the 151st to the 257th pick. Those guys all matter.
I was going to say, I feel like I learned so much from the Draft Central show. Like, I learn every single time it's on. But my question is, which teams are you most excited about, or which player are you guys most excited about seeing get drafted? And then let's go with the player first, and then we'll go to teams.
You want to go first, Greg?
You go ahead.
All right. I think the low-hanging fruit for a lot of people is Shedeur Sanders, right? You've been hearing the chatter, you've been hearing the rumors, but at the end of the day, we want to see which team really believes in him as their future. Okay, is it going to happen early? Is it going to happen later? Somebody's going to get Shedeur Sanders today. He's not going to fall to tomorrow. I don't think he gets out of the top 10, in my opinion. I think there are teams in the back part of the top 10 that are there to take him. I think there are teams in the teams that'll jump up into the back 10 to get him before somebody jumps ahead of them. So I don't think he makes it out of the top 10 if he doesn't go in the top 3 picks. However, the stranger things have happened, right? So, but I'm excited to see what happens with him. We've seen the cockiness. It is Deion Sanders version 2 and Shedeur Sanders, except this time it's the offensive version, not the defensive version.
All right, Greg.
And for me, it's where does Ashton Jeanty land? Because if Ashton Jeanty doesn't go to the Raiders or the Jaguars and he falls to the Dallas Cowboys, I'm telling you, Jerry Jones will be off the chair so quickly with that card, it's not even funny. Again, if Shedeur does go to the Raiders, as some people suspect, it's going to be an interesting night. If he falls, this is where I have Dallas moving down in the draft to a team like Pittsburgh, who needs to get a quarterback. That could happen. We'll see, though. Like, again, I mean, this is the first trade in the modern era since 1967 where no team has moved a first-round pick.
So while we're talking about the Cowboys pick, Greg, since you mentioned it, if we talked about if Jeanty falls to him, how about if Jeanty's gone, but Membu falls to you? Okay, now we're talking about a position
I don't want an offensive lineman We've already been there. We've done that. We've signed enough offensive linemen in the off season that they do not need to draft anybody in the offensive line in round 1. If it's not going to be Ashton Genty, it should be Emeka Egbuka of Ohio State.
Okay.
And that's simply because Egbuka fits the need of the wide receiver 2. He's going to be better at it than Tet McMillan is or Matthew Golden. And he is the guy that they should take at 12 if they don't move and all that jazz. Egbuka should be the guy that they take.
All right. Tennessee is now officially on the clock. If you see without graphic.
I'm excited for any Oregon Duck player. I feel like that's a cop-out answer.
John Connerly is going to be a first-round pick then.
Yeah. I'm excited for him. I feel like we've seen Penei Sewell just succeed. Like, I just love seeing people from Oregon do well. And I'm excited to see the Raiders. Like, I already brought up Tom Brady's heavily involved in this draft. I think this is a good thing. I feel like there's a lot of changes that needed to be made. Gino's there. Pete Carroll's there. Whatever we're brewing up on the other side. This is another year. They're early on in the draft. Another year they can make a change. And I feel like that's where they really needed something, was a change. And so we've seen all the Raiders players just be drafted and basically gone at this point. So we need somebody to stick around. I think every Raider fan can agree that has been a major problem.
Well, you got to get it right. That's the problem. Number one is you haven't gotten it right.
Yeah. You're telling me.
Once you get the quarterback right, you don't have the movement. And that, the last good quarterback you had, he got old on you. And since then, they just never seem to get it right. They had Carr, and they didn't believe in him anymore, so they moved on. That happens too. So I'm really intrigued to see what the Raiders do. I've had Shedeur falling to them and them taking Shedeur Sanders because it allows you now, because you've paid Gino for 2 to 3 years, to groom Shedeur in that time. He doesn't have to come in and start right away and deal with the problems of franchise rebuilding, trying to find itself. He can come in and learn on the job and get ready without pressure. And I think that's one of the things you want. Is he going to be able to handle pressure? He handled it in Colorado, but it's a totally different world than the NFL. Okay? And it comes with, once they know you're making money, you can show the watch off all you want. It doesn't matter, because guess what? They're just going to heap more and more pressure on you, because the more you make, the more they come after you. If you're not succeeding the way they believe you should succeed, they want to get rid of you. That is how it goes in the NFL. It is a production-based business, and if they don't believe you're producing to what you're being paid, you're going to be called out in the press. You're going to be called out in every medium, or the social media, and sometimes even from ownership. You're going to get that pressure. Okay, well, if you're not producing, guess what? Maybe it's time we release you. You take a pay cut. There's going to be a lot of pressure on young players like that, when they have to understand that the NFL and college are two different things. There's no guaranteed NIL here where you get your money and you can request more later, or they tell you to transfer out. This is the NFL. You're under contract. You get guaranteed money. You're expected to perform.
Yeah, I feel like the NIL edition has significantly changed college sports, and people are staying longer. People are not, I feel like it's changing every way that we've seen athletes just present themselves and be who represent themselves, find representation. Like, the NIL deals are pretty crazy when you think about it. And there are people that are just in college, like, hey, want me to represent you? And they're like, for sure, yeah. Okay, I got you a Lululemon deal because I have a great social media presence, and now so do you. Like, it's just crazy. Your whole life can change just like that. This girl was telling me to do it. And I was like, okay, I could try. Why not?
Yeah.
Get me a Sephora Lululemon deal. Get them a Lululemon deal.
Well, We're still waiting for Tennessee to make their first pick. So far, it looks like, I mean, everybody's saying Cam Ward. I kind of even jumped on the Cam Ward bandwagon. I'm really intrigued. This has been the first time in a long time we've had a GM play his cards right. It's kept a lot of people guessing. Is Will Levis going to stay? Is it going to be a quarterback? Is it going to be the pass rusher from Penn State, Abdul Carter? He's kept a lot of people guessing. He hasn't said, "Oh, we're going to look at, possibly moving Will Levis." He's never even mentioned it. So you only see it on the blogs. So that right there tells you he's doing a good job of playing his cards close to the chest. You're not getting a good look at what he's got in his hand. And right now, just like that, the pick is in.
Ooh. Okay, if anyone has been watching Draft Central, they know that Jeff does not have. I don't think on your most recent one you had Cam Ward, right?
I had Cam Ward in my final.
Okay, you changed it. Okay, never mind.
Cam Ward was my first pick as well.
Like I said, I jumped on late. I wasn't on it because I thought, from what I saw, I didn't see anything about Will Levis being moved.
Right.
Yeah, so I held on to the very last second about Cam Ward going to Tennessee. So we'll see if that's actually true.
Also, Bill has joined us. So, Bill, the question I started off the show with, what player are you most excited to see drafted today? Or, you're most excited to see in general?
Well, excuse me. It's not sort of a chalky player, but I'm excited about the future of Darius Alexander. Of all the players that I broke down and scouted and watched, and I watched 6 games of him from this past season, if there's a player that goes maybe between picks 50 and 70 that has the best chance to be a multiple All-Pro, it might well be him. I'll be honest, I remember watching Cameron Hayward in college and seeing a lot of the same not just physical traits, but like approach to playing football, mental and physical toughness, technique. I think he's one of the best players in this draft class. And because he played in the MAC, somebody's going to get him, probably middle, second, or later. And I think he's one of the best players here. So I get excited about players that aren't the ones that everyone's talking about.
So we do have a trade. The Browns are dealing the second overall pick, a 4th round pick, which is number 104, a 6th round pick, number 200, to the Jaguars. Jaguars are trading the 5th overall pick, a 2nd round pick, which is number 36, a 4th round pick, which is 126, and their 2026 first round pick.
The fun has begun.
I was going to say, we've been here 10 minutes now.
And there he is. Mr. Cam Ward is the selection for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Cameron Anthony Ward, a.k.a. Cam Ward, one of many Texas kids from the southeast Texas area, not too far from Houston. Good natural element athlete, guy who played safety a little bit, or related to Condre Diggs, but earlier in his life. I like to always point out when everyone's played safety at some point in their life. When he was younger, he played a little bit of safety, but eventually settled in at quarterback and made the right choice, obviously. A lot of the things that I like about him are things that play into the modern approach to playing quarterback. There would have been a lot more questions 25 years ago, some of them fair, some of them unfair, about him. But I think he's going to a good situation in the future. This first year will probably be rough because he's a rookie and it's not a great team. And, of course, obviously they haven't handed him the job yet, so he has to still beat out Will Levis, but I think that will happen.
So, questioning Will Levis here, what are the weaknesses that you guys see that Cam Ward can fill in the case he gets that number 1 spot? Let's go Greg first.
Cam Ward will execute much quicker than Will Levis ever has. Cam Ward was able to do that at Incarnate Wood, Washington State, and definitely did much better at it at Miami this year. His ability to process the game is much better than Will Levis's. And that's going to be a big difference when you come to the NFL level.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What about Jeff? Bill, you want to follow up?
Yeah, when Will Levis came out, one of the biggest issues is he has issues throwing backside. That's something that you really don't change over. It's very rare you see a guy who struggles throwing backside fix that issue. So when you're going to the NFL, you have to be able to throw to both sides of the field. Teams can catch on to that. He struggled with it in college, which is why his stats were mediocre, which is why his production was mediocre. All right. And when you get to the NFL, you may have a hot spurt here or there where you hit some big plays and against the team. But at the end of the day, for a 17-game season, you have to be able to spread the field, spread the ball around to the whole field, not just 2/3 of the field. So what the problem with Will Levis was, he was a limited quarterback coming in. He was always going to be a limited quarterback. You bring in Cam Ward, who could throw it to all levels of the field, who's a cool customer throughout the game. We've seen it with Miami many times this year where they were under the gun and Cam Ward was always the guy that pulled them out. They should have lost multiple games. They lost one, right? But they should have lost about 3 or 4 games this year and won for Cam Ward under center at the end of games. So he's a guy who's a clutch performer all season long. And that's something that you didn't have in Will Levis.
And now we have to see who the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to select. Is it going to be Travis Hunter? Because
I'm going Abdul Carter. I think they jumped up for the pass rusher.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm agree with Jeff.
Or
Yeah.
it's Abdul Carter, right?
Yeah.
And if it is Abdul Carter, then Travis Hunter likely becomes a New York Giant, and this draft is all messed up already. as far as our mocks went, which
Well,
I do.
everybody's 1 for 1 until the trade, right?
That's right.
And Jacksonville made their pick. They're happy. So we're going to find out who pick is in.
I think I got a screenshot. Does it show you? Oh, there we go.
Yep, there's trade itself.
Greg was reading really fast, so if you're just listening, I thought this would be better.
We're gonna go to the chart on this one. All right. So
Did it?
pull that back up, Ashmere.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
All right. So to go from 5 to 2, you needed 900 points because 2 was 2,600, 5 is 17. So you need 900 points, right? So they gave up 36. So that's their second round pick. 5. So that's 530. I needed one more time, Ashby.
oh, my bad.
Yeah.
We're looking at your face, Jeff.
Yeah. So yeah, you can hear me for this one. All right. So they gave up 36. So that's 530. They gave up 126.
Yeah.
So let's see, we're 126. That's 46 points. That brings you up to 600. And they gave up a first rounder next year. All right. So that right there is well over. So they had to give something back. So they got that 104 in the 4th round and 200 overall in the 6th. So they gave up a lot to move up. They actually overpaid a little bit, quite a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Because that next year, that first round next year, you go down and it's way over what they paid. Right, just to give up 530 for their first round pick next year because you don't know where it's going to be. So you go by the chart around backwards. So so from 17 at 100 on their pick this year for 530 for their pick next year, that was halfway there. So they gave up a lot. They gave up a lot. They gave up their second. They gave up that same pick in this draft. So you gave up 1,000 points right there alone in those 2 picks. And then you give up more picks behind that. So you did get extra picks to make up some of that difference, but that was a big overpay.
And Mr. Goodell is on the stage right now.
Hold on. Who did you say that they ruined everything for, Greg? They're coming for.
They've ruined everybody's draft board because of the trade.
No, I know, but for what? For who? Just so we can.
Who they're going to select?
Yes. Who do you think Jags are picking right now?
Maybe Abdul Carter.
Okay. agree.
Well, he's got to announce the person announcing the pick, so that's what's taking him so long here.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is round one. I don't like this celebrity picking nonsense. The commissioner's supposed to be there. He makes the announcement. Let's go.
But people were booing him. I think he was sick of it.
That's fine. They can boo him all they want.
I feel like he was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a step back because my
Eric
mental
Armstead,
health is messed up.
current player.
Grumpy Greg is here early. That's right. I am the meanest man in football.
Yeah, you don't want to be on Greg's bad side.
Everybody's waiting on bated
All
breath.
just staring at our TVs like. I'm gonna ask you guys later. Actually, I'm gonna keep this in the vault.
Nice.
You don't think Abdul Carter would have stayed till the Jaguars draft spot came around?
No.
Mm.
Because I think he would have gone. I think he would have gone to the Giants.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah,
now
really
the Giants are
dragging
going
us
to
out.
Beautiful Owings Mills.
Travis Hunter is the pick.
Okay.
It is okay. I was right the first time. It was going to be Hunter.
What?
You
And
also-
now comes the guessing game about where he will be or what he will be and how he'll be used. That will be interesting.
because in Jacksonville their defensive secondary is not that strong. I think he plays more corner and goes out on third downs with
Yep.
Brian Thomas.
Right. Yep.
So I think he's going to be much more of a corner for Jacksonville.
Which makes sense, frankly. I think that's really the best usage is to make sure that he plays probably, at least 2/3 of your defensive snaps, and then, probably 15 to 20 at most snaps on offense. One of the things that was an issue for him was just being dead dog tired in some games. He would just give up some big plays occasionally as a corner and run the wrong route sometimes as a wide receiver just because I think his brain and his body was exhausted. He played 111 snaps. I think in at least one game was over 100 snaps in two others. And that's a little much, quite frankly. And you saw it break down in execution at times. And once again, I don't want to rehash the Stanford game all over again, but it caught up with him in a couple of games.
So I
Yes.
know everybody saw, he said if he can't play both positions, he'll quit the game of football.
Um,
I can
Yeah.
think of a few $1 million a few reasons why he won't.
A few million guaranteed reasons.
Why he won't. And once again, technically speaking, he will be playing both, but he won't be full time both. That's just not, that dog won't hunt.
No, Daddy only did 60 snaps one season, Sanders, and that was it. So if Dion only made 60 offensive snaps in one season,
I do wonder what was the motive behind saying that comment? What was he trying to go for?
social media.
To make sure it's a
tough.
leverage thing. It's make
tough.
sure that I get to play both sides of the ball. Some
Yep.
teams are
In
gonna,
Jacksonville, you could play any position because they need people out there. Okay?
yeah, but the thing
We're
is,
struggling.
people don't understand. It's different in college than it is in. It takes so much time to learn one position, more or less two, and you don't get the same kind of time in college that you get in the NFL. So if you're going to do both, it's hard to be in two places at once. It's hard to be in a receiver meeting while you're in a corner meeting. Right? It's hard to be over there, and you have special concessions from Coach Prime. He's going to make sure Travis is where he needs to be. So when it's different in the NFL, it is also one of the biggest issues is it's double the risk. Right? So if you're going to go out there and play wide receiver and you're starting at corner, they lose two starters at once potentially if you get hurt. Right? So heaven forbid, you're out there starting at corner, you're locking down a side of the field, you go out there and play wide receiver, you get your knee torn up on a slant pattern where somebody's twisting you down. Now they're out there receiver and they're locked down corner. So there's always been that hesitation by NFL teams to do that because they don't want to lose two important players in one shot.
Because you look at the division that he's in, he gets to face the Houston Texans secondary as a wide receiver. You think Stingley's not going to be out there ready to kill this kid? He is going to destroy Travis Hunter if he gets the opportunity to. And that's the bottom line. Bill, you're muted.
That you won't see this there's 5 reasons you won't see him be full-time on both sides of the ball. NFLPA. People don't understand. There are strict rules about practice time in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like college where you can hang around a little after practice, come in a little early, do a little this, do a little that, meet so-and-so, and work out on your own. You have strict rules about how much time, especially in contact, you can be. Think about how hard it is as a rookie to learn the game plan on one side of the football. There are guys who didn't make it because they couldn't learn one side of the ball, right? I'm telling you, it is not an impossibility, but it is very difficult as a rookie to be able to be in 2 places at once. I've done research on this. Pick his end.
Dude, tell me why Bleacher Report is pinging me saying the Patriots are on the clock. I was like, where? What is happening?
Yeah, because the Giants pick is in instead of Patriots.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, hold on. I'm lagging here. Okay, who's everybody picking? I think I know already.
And there it is. Abdul Carter comes off the board.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I could get you to answer before you saw it.
It had to be Abdul Carter because why everybody was so hooked on Shedeur Sanders coming to the Giants, it was beyond me.
No.
The New York Giants have won their Super Bowls that they've won with a pass rush defense.
Yeah.
A pure pass rush defense, and Abdul Carter adds to the pass rush of the New York Giants. That's why he is the pick here at number 3. They have never had, even with Eli. No, Eli didn't win those Super Bowl games. The Giants' defense did.
The ceiling for a guy like Abdul Carter is similar to John Abraham. And once again, if you're too young, look him up. But that's a guy who probably should get in the Hall of Fame someday. And you'll be shocked when you see how high up he is on the all-time sack list. That's his ceiling. Now, he may not hit that, but worst case scenario, you're getting a guy that think is going to be a 6.5 to 8 sack guy as a rookie if he plays enough and stays healthy. He obviously has had a few, not super serious, but injuries that slowed him a little bit in college. You need to monitor some of that. But when you look at what he can do, and he has that bend, he has the length, he has explosion and pop. My only concern is strength. Can he hold a certain amount of weight? Can he build up the lower body strength? Can he be a consistent player against? He's okay against the run, but he could certainly get better at some of those things in terms of setting tough edges. But he has all the things you need as a pass rusher. He needs a few more moves, but that's something hopefully he'll develop.
I'll say this. Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, probably their most athletic pass rushing duo since their Super Bowl run the last 10 years. Okay? You talk about the guys they had when they had Strahan and Justin Tuck and O.C. Umenyiora and that group, very athletic group. But you're starting to get that way again now with Carter and Thibodeau on the edges. All right, so
you also have Burns up there.
Yes, Brian Burns as well.
Thibodeau could be on the move because of his contract situation that's coming up. So we don't know what the Giants are going to end up with, but getting Abdul Carter on the one side of their pass rush is going to be a big key for them. I'm not seeing anything as of yet, but I am hearing that the Carolina Panthers moved up to number 4.
We're going to see a lot of trades in this draft for those who, and it's going to intensify when we get further in and teams begin to get a little nervous, right, when there's a run on certain positions and they're afraid they're going to get shut out of the players that they really want, especially at the positions that aren't as deep as some of the others. If you need a D tackle, you don't have to panic, right? There's lots of really great defensive tackles in this class. The running backs is a very deep position, but there's only so many of certain players at certain positions. The interior offensive and interior defensive line, lots of great players. If you need a left tackle, there's only a handful of those guys who are probably day one starters. If you need one of those, you're going to probably have to make sure you get them by the, pick 24, 23. And, of course, the pass rushers are going to fly off the board because they always do. So we'll see who's next off the board, but I think we're going to see a run on certain positions.
Oops, sorry. That was me.
But what run do the NFL teams decide to go with this year? Is it going to be the defensive tackles like we thought early on? Is it going to be a corner? We don't know what the NFL teams are thinking here.
Well, the good news if you're the Panthers is you're terrible. You can use everything.
Yeah.
They probably are set at quarterback, and then any other position you can think of. They could use a wide receiver. They could use a tight end. They could use every kind of offensive lineman you could think of. They could use every kind of defensive lineman you could think of. They could use players in the secondary. A little early for a linebacker, but any position that you can name other than maybe quarterback, the Panthers could use.
Who is on your guys' mock for Patriots? Do I have
Will Campbell. I think pretty much everyone has Will Campbell going to them.
Do we have the mock here? I'm gonna investigate.
Which one did you want to see, Asher?
Your guys' most recent, the locked in version.
There's four.
Last night, there's four of them, and everybody had Will Campbell.
All right, cool.
I'll pull up Bills. How about that?
Yeah.
Or sorry, no, he had Mason Graham go there because he had a trade.
Oh yeah, right. That one I had a trade, but yes, in all the others I had Will Campbell, and I still think it's going to be end up being Will Campbell. I was just trying to figure out.
What I had mocked there, so
yeah. So the pick is in for the Patriots, but they've gone to a commercial, so.
There we go. There's Will Campbell.
Yeah.
all right. So we're moving through. We're doing fine, right? It's not a slow first round this year. We got some excitement. A little slow with Tennessee in the beginning. They played that when they held that card forever. I feel like they were purposely doing it for TV purposes.
Yeah. And Diana Rossini's reporting that the Browns are taking calls for number 5 as well. So
yep,
it could be.
They're just stockpiling picks at this point.
Exactly.
And this is a really smart this year, particularly because this is a wide, flat draft. Right? There's only a few sort of what I call tent poles, right, where they sort of poke up and you sort of lay the tent down over the tent pole, stretches out. But most of the players are under that tent, right? There's only a few guys that poke out. I really think that this is a great draft to have a bunch of guys between picks, 30 and 75, right? If you can have 4 picks between 30 and 75, this is a great year to do it because there's not a huge difference in those players. You're going to get players in the 4th round that are not that different players in the second. You get players in the second that are very similar to players in the first. And players in the third, they're very similar to players in the second. There's not really much of a drop-off at certain positions. So if you are the Browns and you want to fix, let's say, 3 positions, right, that really are bothering you, you want to have maybe multiple swings at those positions, this is a great time to stockpile those picks. Ran into Andrew Berry a couple of times. Shout out to Andrew Berry. Saw him twice. Almost literally ran into him one time coming through a door at the Westin Hotel in beautiful downtown Indianapolis. And he's still very fit. You can tell he works out. But I think he analyzed this draft similarly to a lot of other people and said, there's no reason to be stuck in this place in the front if I can move down and even move down some more and have a bunch of picks in the first 3 rounds, that is the smart way to go. I think if Andrew Berry plays this well and drafts well, this could really help the Browns to, stop being kind of, people like to make fun of them. They've earned it some years, right? They've certainly brought some of that on themselves, but so far, there's a smart strategy.
The Browns are going to stay. The Browns are going to stay at 5.
Oh, okay.
But again, they've already picked up the 36th pick in this draft.
Yep.
They've got the 33rd pick. So Greg Newsome is supposed to be on the way out. I expect a cornerback in round 2 to be taken by the Browns. That's pretty obvious.
Right. If a guy like Ravel is still there, if Maxwell Harris makes it to them somewhere in the second, that's a guy they'd certainly consider. Maybe if they take a different position with that first, second round pick, they might consider even a guy. Well, Darian Porter might go a little later, but there's a lot of high quality corners to be had. If a guy like Trey Amos is still available, Trey Amos might go to them as well.
Yep. And the pick is in for the Patriots, and it's Will Campbell.
Campbell, right?
Whoa! Who would have thought?
This is my shock.
Not Greg.
No, not me, not whatsoever. And you know what? I don't care about his short arms. I really don't. This man has played tackle his entire life. He is a tackle. He's not going to be moved into guard.
Well, his arms aren't that short. First of all, his arms aren't that short. Like it's not like Robert Gallery. He's not a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's not like he can't feed himself. I don't know where we got to this point where 32 and 5/8 inch. So we're having a conniption over 3/8 of an inch. If he gets to 33 inches, nobody's worried. But 32 and 5/8 is a bridge too far. 3/8 of an inch, people, is that. What are we talking about? He'll be fine.
It's tinier, exactly. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And he'll occasionally have a bad day at the office because it happens, right? You're going to get got at some point.
But when you play tackle in the NFL, what do you use much more than your hands? Your feet. You have to use your feet. Yep. And Will Campbell uses his feet masterfully.
Yes, great feet. The worst game I saw him on tape last year was, Landon Jackson had a pretty good game against him in the Arkansas game. And you could see, some of the things he needs to work on, but he's going to be fine. Yeah. Football really matters to him. That's the first thing that sort of jumps out at you. Also, solid fisherman. If you like to fish, Will Campbell's guy's going to be down there throwing some bait in the water with string attached to it. But he doesn't have a whole lot else to confuse himself, right? It's football, the classic sort of, F's guy, like faith, family, football, fishing, right? He's got those F's going, and that's about it. He's not a guy you have to worry. No 3 a.m. phone call for a guy like Will Campbell, but he is going to be fine.
Yeah.
I know everybody just saw this graphic, and it said that Will Campbell's school was wrong. If you didn't see it, you didn't see it,
That's right.
Because you guys didn't see it and say anything.
Well, I did see it, but I didn't say anything because
I'm saying it right now. The man's wearing purple, and I have him somewhere else. Okay.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. And this young man is the real leader too, Campbell. He's pretty emotional on the screen right now.
He's been working a long time to get to this point.
Yep.
I mean, everyone has worked hard to get to where they are, but you can tell if you saw his body when he first arrives at LSU, he's shaped his body entirely, right? He was, maybe skinny is too strong a word, but, he definitely was a sort of lean, lanky physique coming in, and he had to be on that, crazy eating schedule, and waking up in the middle of the night to eat, that kind of stuff, and he's really reshaped his entire physique. And like I said, football truly matters. You can tell. You can tell he really cares about trying to get better.
And we're moving along quickly here because the Browns pick is in, and I think they go to that school up north and take Mason Graham, the defensive tackle.
Yeah, you can fix a multitude of sins on your defensive line by getting a guy like Mason Graham. Now, he's always going to, even when he doesn't have a lot of statistics, he's always going to cause other people to get plays because he wrecks things in the middle. And the pick is in. Let's see who it is. See if we're right.
But yeah, my pick is Mason Graham.
Yeah, well, that's my assumption as well. He's a super high effort guy, powerful, and just extremely disruptive. Play after play after play after play.
I've gotten like, where am I? I feel like I'm all turned around here. Okay.
Unless they take Ashton Genty to replace Nick Chubb. Unless they take Genty to replace
Now
Chubb.
that would be a little bit of a surprise. One is, I think, frankly, Genty will be available a little bit later, and you could, if you really wanted him, you could probably, if you were willing to try to trade down, that would be a smart thing to do because he's probably going to be available later. But I believe it's probably going to be Mason Graham. 6'3.5", 306 pounds, still not 22 years of age. So a guy that played, a few different positions growing up.
And we are correct. It is Mason Graham from that school up north. You guys can say whatever that place is, but I don't.
It's so funny how you won't let it touch your lips.
No. I just refuse to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll give Bill the stage here. What are some pros from Mason Graham that you can expect for him to add to the team?
He still has the movement skills of a smaller person, right? He went to Servite High School, which is one of those Catholic powerhouses in the Southern California area, and was a running back and linebacker, right? So think about having the movement skills of a running back / linebacker. He was 6'1" and 215 when he first showed up, and eventually they talked him into moving to defensive line, and it worked. Obviously, worked out. He became a tremendous defensive lineman, and in the old days, USC would have scooped him up. USC used to just get all the good players from those Catholic high schools in the Orange County and Southern California area. But now, the bubble has burst for them, and now these guys are getting out and going out to other places. But from the time he hits the field, he immediately made an impact. Had 27 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks as a freshman. Was a freshman All-American. And then just continued to get better and better and better, right? 7.5 tackles for loss the year after that, 7 tackles for loss the year after that, despite the fact that every team game plans for him. And 9 sacks in a 3-year career playing where he plays, in the interior, facing double teams consistently, incredibly impressive. So you're getting a player who's going to immediately make other players around him better.
Greg, who is the Browns quarterback?
Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco?
I would like to point out
Here's your current answer. Okay, now that's enough about Cleveland and that school up north. Let's talk about the Raiders, baby.
I know, I was going to say, let's go through what my team needs. Okay, here we go. We need just about any offensive player.
Well,
Yes.
I think this is where Ashton Genty does get picked. Ashton Genty goes to the Raiders.
I think Genty could go here. I haven't ruled out a corner. So I think it might be a little early for Will Johnson, but I haven't ruled him out. There's an opportunity. Once again, they could use a pass rusher as well. They could use everything, right? Well, that's one thing we talk about.
They can use anything.
They could use pretty much anything. Shedeur Sanders, possibly, right? There's a lot of people
when you finish 30
there.
seconds.
But yeah, Genty is obviously
in rushing. You finished 32nd in rushing in the NFL last year.
Yeah, they were bad, but that was a lot of that was could be laid at the feet of their offensive line, which was not good, especially in the run game. They're not good. And the other thing that hurt them was the fact that they played from behind a lot. Right, when you add playing from behind a lot and not having a very effective offensive line, which is part of why they play from behind a lot, it's hard to run the football. And yeah, they didn't have a tremendous lot of talent at the running back position, but if the offensive line was elite, the running backs would be more productive. But they could use. It's almost easier to name the positions they couldn't use, right? That's the easier thing to do. They could use almost every position you could imagine.
Yeah. We know, Bill. Thanks for rubbing it in. I'm just
But
kidding.
think of the opportunities to build, right? This is
Yes,
to
yes.
make your team better.
Yeah, I think this is a good chance for. I said it before you got on. The Raiders have had the opportunity to draft early multiple years in a row, and it's been a big L. Like, there's not a player from the last, 5 or 6 drafts, they say, they're still on the roster. So at this point, we're looking for consistency, playability, regular, everyday knowledge to be a good person, and a good football player.
Yeah.
I know we all know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to name drop here.
You don't have to name any names. Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
Where you're going? If you know, you know.
If you know, yeah, exactly. That should be one of our bands. If you know, you
And
know.
there you have it. You have
There it is.
You have
Awesome.
Ashton Genty.
Yep. So Austin Genty has a lot of special qualities, and
Oh,
yes, and the thing that obviously really stands out to you is how many yards he gets that aren't there. Right, when you actually plan out that play, when you draw up that play, you say, "Oh, this is a play that's going to get us 3-4 yards," and then he gets 8. He really is an absolute expert at getting you yards that aren't there. And so even if your offensive line doesn't improve dramatically, he will make them look better, right? He will make that line look better because he can make people miss in a phone booth. He's powerful enough to break tackles. He's amazing at breaking tackles. I think he was number 1 or number 2 in tackles broken. So he's terrific at that. He has amazing contact balance. Everything except like really great like long speed. He was a healthy scratch from running the 40, so it lets me know everything I need to know about his long speed. He knows that's not the strength of his game and decided just to avoid having people know exactly what his 40 time would have been, a la Najee Harris. But he's got everything else you could want.
but running backs 40 times do not matter. They really do not matter.
Well,
it's
there's a bottom to it where if it's
where you're going to be 5'4", yeah, okay, obviously that would not be any good. But again, he's going to run you 4.58, a 4.64, somewhere in that
right
range.
there, yeah, probably in that area.
Which is just fine for a running back.
Yeah.
All right,
But
I have a question.
Ashton Genty also gives you a receiver out of that backfield. Last year, he only caught 23 passes. The year before, he caught 43.
Yeah.
Because this year, Boise State tried to get him the Heisman, and they made him carry the football more. That's all that is. Go ahead, Ashmere.
So my question is, the Raiders let go of Devontae Adams, right? Do you think that if they were still with him, this would be a different draft pick, or
No.
okay?
No.
I think
No.
the running back position could
Because
still need help.
Yeah, because they were 32nd in the league. Hello, you can't get any worse than 32nd.
Are you sure?
Apparently not.
I mean, unless they're relegated to the United Football League.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think we're looking at a new team, like I said in the intro. Like, there's just so much possibility, and Ashton Genty is so much fun to watch. I feel like that's what the Raiders are missing right now, is like the fun to watch aspect. You're going to Vegas, you're watching a football game, you're dropping cash. You may be a Raider fan, you may not be, but you just want to watch a fun football game. And I feel like that is what this new offense is looking like, and adding Ashton Genty there. And I like how Bill said you are looking for 4 yards, he's getting 8. It's like giving the Chiefs mentality. Like, all of a sudden they need 3 yards, they're getting 6, right? It's like, I feel like it's the same kind of pressure that the Raiders need in their crazy division, right? Like, that division's all good except for them. So this makes them a little bit better.
And once again, another one of the players who is not yet 22 years old.
Yeah.
You know, so you're getting guys basically 21 and a half years old. And especially at the running back position, you want to try to get as many of those years, front loaded He doesn't turn 22 until December. Another guy, he's lived all over the place, right? Military brat, so he's lived in Italy, he's lived in Florida, he's lived in Texas, lived some everywhere. But he is a very adaptable person, right? And I think that will also help. He's super high character and another guy that truly, truly loves the game.
Mr. Barnes.
I know, I was going to say, calling from the draft board.
Well, listen, everything Bill and you guys are talking about is exactly right. We're talking about this draft. Not a lot at the top, but a lot in the middle, right? So what you're seeing is the top of the board starting to come on. We're still waiting to see what happens with Shedeur. This is that fall we were talking about. Where is it going to stop? I said somewhere between 8 and 10. We're about to hit that range. We'll find out if that's accurate. But what you're seeing is the top of the board, the positions that are really deep, all right, are starting to get picked out a little at the top. We haven't seen the thin positions yet. Some of those positions you're not going to see until late day 2, early day 3. Like linebacker, you may see 1 or 2 early. You're not going to see too many of those guys coming up in round 1. But what you're going to see is running back, cornerback, things like that. That stuff's going to come off quick. Jonty's gone. Right, so if there's somebody that wants a running back, doesn't want to wait till day 2, you'll see another one sneak into the first round, but they're going to go hot and heavy day 2 and day 3. But the deep positions are there. One thing you love about this draft, we're going to take this off and get real into this, all right? So, all right, difference between a deep position and a not deep position, right? Cornerback is one of the deeper positions. First round grades up at the top, second round grades, look at the names in the middle of the board, all the way to the bottom. Let's look at linebacker. Linebacker, right? You can start here, no first round grades. You got some second round grades. And look at the thinning out in the third for the Mikes. All right, you got some here, a good cluster in the outside linebackers. Once again, gap. Not a lot of names. All right, so when you talk about thin position versus thick position, these guys, when they get on a run, are going to go quick. It's going to pull these guys up. These guys are going to wind up sitting as a result of it. So we're seeing now top of the board coming off, right? Hunter's gone. Carter's gone. Graham is gone. All right. Campbell's gone. Okay. We've seen Jonty go. Okay. McMillan's still up there. Warren, Banks. All right. And Johnson. So 4 of my first round grades are left out of the 10. So they're going quickly. That's going to happen. That's when these second round grades come into play. What do teams think of these guys here, right? When you have this board is pretty thick here, right? These are the guys that come off after those first round grades are gone, all right? So that's where we're going to be looking now. We get into the teams. Where are these guys coming from? Who's pulling from here? And what's the big run? If it's one position, expect a lot of those guys to get called earlier than expected on day 2 and day 3.
Yeah.
Okay, we're up close and personal here on the draft board. I like that.
I suspect that the New York Jets will take Membu.
Yeah, that's what I'm projecting as well.
Well, it would be smart for them to take Membu, right? Or Banks. Any one of those 2 tackles helps them immediately, right?
Membu played right tackle. They need a right tackle. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm going to say Membu. Because Moses went down to the Patriots.
So, right, they got the tackle off the board. All right. So when you look at it, they like them more than Banks. Banks had a first round grade on my board. He obviously had a first round grade on their board. He missed first round grade on mine by 300ths.
Here are the team needs for everybody who needs to see. But if you're a Panthers fan, you know what you need, just like how I was saying I know what the Raiders need, which was just about anything.
So Membu is the pick for the Jets. He played right tackle at Missouri.
Wait, Jets.
Like I said, they lost Moses to the Patriots in free agency. They needed a new right tackle. Membu is the guy.
Yep. And it makes perfect sense. And it's good value. I mean, this is a player that is a top 10 player all day long. Rare movement skills. Another guy that came to football fairly late, but you can see that his he's going to keep getting better. There's work to be done on him, but he has his length and his movement skills give him a chance to play immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
You have some guess who was? Cool. Okay. Here you go. How much better does this make the Jets? What does it look like to you guys?
Well, Justin Fields needed protection.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's your basic answer, right? I mean, this guy's 335 pounds. He's 6'3". He's a big boy. He'll cover the right-hand side. And Justin Fields has somebody who can block for him downfield when he goes running as well.
And he's going to help their running game instantaneously as well. Like, he's really good in the run game as a blocker. So they're going to be improved, period, as a team.
Jeff, you're muted.
Now this will be interesting to see where Carolina goes. Is it going to be Tetairoa McMillan, the target for Bryce Young, or do they add to the defense? We don't know what Carolina's going to do here.
All right, Jeff, you want to talk on Membu really quick?
Yes. So with Membu, you got to look at the new regime. All right. You have Aaron Glenn coming over from Detroit. He's going to mirror a lot of things that he did in Detroit. He believes a lot of the things that Dan Campbell believed. You're going to see defense be an emphasis for this team. You're going to see the running game become a bigger emphasis than before with this team. And they're going to try and treat Justin Fields more like they treated Jared Goff. We're going to run the football. We're going to take a lot of pressure off of you, but we're still going to expect you to make big plays down the field and throw the football. So I think that's what you're going to see. That same formula kind of come into play here with Justin Fields and the Jets. That's why you take a Membu. You want to shore up that offensive line so you can run the football. You can go out there and protect Justin Fields and allow him to go through progressions and not have to use his legs as much as he did in Chicago.
Yeah, or Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Okay. I already showed. I was ahead because I was looking at the future, but I was just showing the Panthers what their team needs were because when it says on the clock, I was behind. I think the lag of my TV is really throwing me off. So I'm getting literally up to date everything from you guys. But back to the Panthers here. Curious what your boards were. I don't have them. I'm gonna find them and upload them, and then. Yeah, I want to hear what you guys think is more important when it comes to the five-ish positions that the Panthers really need to fill. Who's the number one, or what's the number one spot you guys believe? Edge, corner?
I think edge is number one for them. And the reason being they never really replaced Brian Burns last year.
Yeah.
So you have to impact the passer. And if you're not doing that, you're setting your defense up the field. Now, and how good your secondary is. You have to. This day and age with the NFL, you cannot give quarterbacks time to throw the football. They did that last year when they were able to generate pressure because of blitzing. They don't want to do that this year. They want to be able to get there with 4. It starts with having an elite pass rusher outside. We're starting to see some of those guys come off the board. Well, the next one up, they give a choice here. We've mocked Will Johnson there. But there are people that say Shamar Stewart, who you see right behind to the Saints, is one of those guys. Michael Williams is a guy who's been mocked around this point.
Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker is another one. And now Walker is a linebacker, but he can blitz. The guy you can use how they used Micah Parsons early in his transition from linebacker to end. So you can do a lot of different things here, but you got to impact the pocket, and you got to do it with somebody elite, an elite athlete. So it's going to be one of those guys that they want to impact the front the defense. If it's somebody in the back end, look for your Will Johnson to come off. Okay, look for your other corners start to come into play here. But to me, if you've already seen Hunter go off, the next one up for me is Will Johnson.
And again, this could be a spot where McMillan does go because Bryce Young needs a big target.
That he does.
He needs a big target. And the Carolina head coach was the former OC in Tampa Bay. So, hello. I want my offense to operate defensively. They may go later on. We don't know yet.
All right, so the Carolina pick is being announced. It is McMillan.
Okay, so
Thank you.
you're getting to see a guy with a strong volleyball background, and it shows, right? He plays the game, as I say, above the rim. A lot of the same sort of aspects and strengths and weaknesses you see in guys like Michael Pittman Jr. A lot of the things you see or saw in the past from other, big-bodied receivers. He's fast enough. Low 4.5s with that body type is actually pretty exceptional. Actually, tracks the ball fairly well. Not the world's most amazing route runner, just because of how long his legs are. It's hard to, really snap in and out. But he does everything else at a pretty high level. Track the ball, go up and snatch it. Good, really, with body control for a guy that size as well.
Absolutely. We talk about it. What makes him special? Semi-elite hands. Not elite, but semi-elite, right? But he's a guy that goes out there. He tracks the football. He makes spectacular catches. He'll climb the ladder. He'll do all of the things that make up for the fact that he is not a quick change of direction, sudden stop kind of guy. He's not the guy who's going to redirect on a vertical route, be able to stop suddenly and undercut a defender to get to the ball. He's a guy that's going to, if it's thrown short, he's going to throttle down and elevate and take it out of his hands. So you look at him, he's that athletic receiver that you think about it. I know a lot of people, you said London is the one guy. I compare him more to a Dez Bryant. That guy that's going to accelerate and go and elevate to get to the football and do things of that nature. Not the greatest route tree in the world, but it's going to out-athlete you for the football. That is Ted McMillan to me.
And there goes the top two picks of the Dallas Cowboys world. Ashton Jeanty and Tetro McMillan are both gone. Oh my! I don't know what I'm thinking, because I've told you Egbuka is the man for the Cowboys. He is.
Well, we're just 4 picks away from finding out, Greg.
Unless of course they
unless a trade happens. That's true. Unless a trade happens.
Yeah. And even then, even later, you see me do it. I had the Steelers move up in my mock to take Shedeur Sanders, because I think that the Indianapolis Colts at 14 are a team that's not being talked about taking a quarterback. They've got Richardson and Danny Dimes. Hello. Geez, Shedeur Sanders might look pretty good at the stadium in Indy.
And once again, shout out again to Servite High School. Another guy from Servite has been drafted with McMillan coming off the board. Once again, in the old days, he would have been at USC. But his mother also was a really good volleyball player, which is part of why he grew up playing volleyball. And, a guy that truly has found his role. And he and Noah Fafita, have been playing together since they were kids. Sort of like a few others, we see guys that sort of find each other over and over again. Though they ended up at different high schools, they played a lot growing up in youth football, and then of course decided to play 7-on-7 together. And then they did go to he did both Servite. They played together forever. Since they were like 8 or 9 years old. And when you look at him, like I said, you see the strengths and weaknesses, but the strengths, now he has short arms for a guy. I mean, his arms are shorter than mine, which is shocking because he's, like almost 10 inches taller than I am. You know, I'm 5'7" and 5/8", and he's 6'4" and an eighth. But I actually have longer arms. So that's kind of a strange thing. But once again, he makes up for that with that leaping ability in ball track.
Our main topic of the show is arm length. Okay, we've got two other guys from Team NBS joining us here, Randall and George. Randall is covering the Bills and George with the Rams. So we're bringing them in early. How are you guys? Welcome.
Well, hey, how are we?
Hey, I missed the memo about suiting up, so I want to apologize about that.
You missed the memo about a light as well.
Yeah, my lights went out. All the lights above me went out. And I don't have any bulbs to replace it. Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right, George.
And, you know, but as soon as Greg said Dallas, my lights went out.
Yeah. Well, see, there you go.
We're going to get you.
Rams fans all
Yeah, the only
deserve.
place I can go, if I go where there's lighting, I won't see the pics.
So we're going to start a GoFundMe for you. For some new
I don't know, you know what? I'm gonna go where there's lighting. So just give me a quick second. I'm just gonna rely on you guys talking about who's getting drafted. So I'm gonna miss the picks.
That's okay. Your pick isn't happened, so we got plenty of time. To
Oh yeah,
talk.
my pick's not gonna happen for at least another hour.
Yeah.
The New Orleans Saints are going to take, I believe, the Texas offensive tackle to replace Penning on that line. I think this is where Banks goes.
Okay, is that better?
That's
Woo!
better.
Welcome.
Like I said, I didn't see the memo about suiting up, so I'm suiting up for the Rams. So here we go.
Yeah, we get the tie tomorrow. I skipped the tie today. Tie goes on tomorrow.
Well, that's
I'm
okay.
not a
So
big
you're
fan
on
of
the
those
panel,
chokers.
you got to wear the tie. That's the difference, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those chokers unless I have to.
All right, I want to hear your guys' thoughts so far, Randall and George. How do you feel like this draft has unfolded so far? Randall, you go first.
Pretty insane, to be honest with you. I'm surprised that Cleveland was willing to give up on the potential of Travis Hunter to trade back. I understand that they need a lot of picks and things along those lines, but they traded back and they ended up getting a great defensive tackle that's going to be next to Myles Garrett. So that's a really good grab. But Travis Hunter is intriguing, as well as their market would help them in sales and jersey sales and stuff like that with Travis Hunter. So on an ownership stance, I'm surprised they went that way. But I love Mason Graham on that front line. That was very, very well done. Jets did the right move by taking a tackle, Aaron Glenn's, slow playing it instead of going for a splash guy because, he hopes to be there for a long time. Overall, I mean, Ted McMillan makes sense for Carolina. I'm rooting for Bryce Young to do well because he went through adversity and things along those lines. So I like it. I'm glad that there was some drama and it wasn't just, 1 through 9 people were picking while we sat here for an hour and a half, right?
Shit, you're telling me.
Yeah.
All right, George, what are your thoughts?
Well, I really haven't been surprised, not even with the trade Carolina made. I thought it was a great move for them to get Travis Hunter. I'm curious. I know we kind of talked about this on the side. What is his primary position going to be? Is it going to be defensive back or is it going to be wide receiver? I think he's better suited to play receiver because really this is, like they mentioned it on the draft on the NFL Network, this is Trevor Lawrence's really his final shot. We're giving you the weapons. You need to produce or we're going to move on. Trevor Lawrence hasn't lived up to the hype that he had out of Clemson, and I think this is a make or break season for him. So I'm not going to be surprised to see Travis Hunter play more on the offensive side this year, even though he's saying if I can't play both ways, I won't play football, which I don't agree with. I don't like college players making demands from a team that where he hasn't been drafted yet. Other than that, I like the picks that I'm seeing. I think Graham's going to be huge on the defensive line, like Randall was saying right now. He's going to be a huge run stopper, and I got a lot of family and friends that are huge Raider fans, so I know that they are dancing in the streets over Gentry getting picked there. And that was the one guy I thought the Raiders needed to get. If he fell to 6, the Raiders had to jump on him.
Yeah, I think their offense is looking a little better day by day.
Yeah,
No, I know. I
you.
kind of missed it earlier. I kind of want to ask your opinion. I know you guys probably talked about this. I keep hearing all this talk about Sanders going to Pittsburgh. I don't know what you guys feel on it. I mean, obviously, like Greg, Jeff, and Bill, you guys cover college football a lot more than I do. I haven't been sold on the Sanders hype. Truthfully, I would take Jackson Dart over Sanders.
Well,
I don't know what
in
you guys think about it.
In my mock draft last night, I gave Jackson Dart to the Rams.
Oh, I would love it if he fell that far. I would love it, but I would rather. I don't think they're going to do it. But the Rams need inside linebacker help.
I wouldn't say that's a falling for Jackson Dart. I mean,
Exactly.
he's really a second round player, but the quarterback tax pushed him into the first round, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was just talking about quarterback drafts, and I had a trivia question for those that follow my trivia questions that dealt with some of those things. It was about the 2011 draft, and very famously, there was the ESPN the magazine with the 4 quarterbacks. We've got next, and of course, for Cam Newton, it kind of sort of worked out. For the other 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round that year, right, in order, Jake Locker, then Blaine Gabbert, and finishing up with Christian Ponder, didn't work out quite so well. And those are guys that, frankly, should. Gabbert, I kind of get being a first rounder, but he was super raw, but he at least had the talent. You could see the talent. Jake Locker was a guy that was a 47.9% completion percentage guy in college. Like, you think he's suddenly going to become more accurate in the pros? I mean, that was sort of a weird one to me. As, once again, a big, strong kid. Sort of some of the things you look at with Jackson Dart, but Dart's way more accurate. And then, the head scratcher for me truly was Christian Ponder, right? I mean, Christian Ponder's a nice guy, but I mean, there's nothing I ever saw when I watched him at Florida State and said this guy should go in the first round, or even the second. I mean, I had an early third round grade on him, but this is a quarterback draft where, frankly, there's 2 first round quarterbacks, and if you take another quarterback, you have to do that knowing that you're probably overpaying if you're taking that quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, I know, because the Rams, obviously, they need a quarterback of the future, and it's just more apparent every day that they're not sold on Stetson Bennett to be that man.
Well, of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, Stetson Bennett is a career backup, clearly, right? I mean, everything about him says career backup. A guy who was a 25-year-old rookie and, quick-footed, moves around. But, I mean, how different is he from – he's like a shorter Austin Davis. If you loved Austin Davis, you're going to be excited about Stetson Bennett.
No, I wouldn't mind having Jackson Dart. I think he would work well in Sean McVay's system.
Okay,
for the Bears, do we have anyone's mock?
Kelvin Banks, I've been mocking to them.
Tyler Warren.
Were you unanimous here? Oh, I was like,
Yeah.
I think I gave them Tyler
Randall's
Warren.
there. We'll put Randall's up.
Yeah, Tyler Warren.
Wrong. Right. Wrong.
Yeah, my youngest son, who's the only Ram fan of my kids, him and I have been going back and forth because the last 2 years he's predicted draft picks, which is really annoying to me. And he says if he's available, the Rams are going to get Tyler Warren. And he goes, now if the Rams get him, then I have to give him, props.
am
for
I going to be
announcing
the
it.
first person to tell you? Like, wait, don't say anything. I'm going to pop up the graphic. Unless you guys can see it before me, then just pretend.
Yeah, he predicted Stephen Avila last year, and I forget the one he got. I actually yelled at him during the draft last year when he got a pick right. And
Ryan Poles needs to be fired.
Yeah,
What?
and-
Are you kidding me? A guy from that school up north, when Tyler Warren was also available? I don't buy it.
Oh,
Well,
they-
Yeah, well, I have Warren going to 14 to the Colts is where I have Tyler Warren going.
Now, I like Loveland. I don't think he's better than Warren.
No.
He's a more refined blocker. He has better blocking technique.
Yeah. But
I had Loveland a pinch higher, to be honest.
And what confuses me, I guess this means that you won't be paying Cole Kmet then.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's been their starting tight end. So I guess this means Cole Kmet will not be getting extended from his rookie deal.
I wouldn't either because Cole Kmet, every time I picked him, he killed me in fantasy.
Yeah.
Like every time I picked him, he decided not to show up on the field. I think he would have one catch, and I was like, I'm done with this guy.
I will say fantasy related, Ashton Jeanty going to the Raiders just signifies him as the first pick because they are going to use him correctly and they're going to use him a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that is the new Marshawn for
Jacobs, but get more from it.
Yeah,
That is the new Marshawn for Carroll. Pete Carroll.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Feels
definitely
like Feels like
Warren
there
to
was
the
no
Colts
pros
now.
for this pick here. So I need someone to give me a pro for Loveland going to the Bears. I'm gonna give it to Bill, baby.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, the pro is that your 2 tight end sets, your 12 personnel sets are going to be lit, right? You can toss Kmet and Loveland, who are both big-bodied guys and good blockers out there. Loveland's not a super dynamic guy after the catch, but he's a good route runner. He has good hands, and he's, like I said, a really good blocker. And then Kmet is a guy who's like really good in the red zone, when healthy, as was pointed out, the when healthy part. So if both of them are able to be on the field, it helps you in the run game, right? Both those guys are pretty good blockers. And Loveland is a reliable receiver. Like I said, just not super dynamic after the catch. That was where Warren has him, right? Warren is obviously much better after the catch, but Loveland is the guy that's that better, pure, like line up in the trenches, inline Y, who's going to be able to get. You can ask him to reach block. You can ask him to, to set the edge. To pin guys inside. He's done all that stuff at a high level at the aforementioned school up north, as Greg would like to say.
So we have live reaction from Bears Nation in the chat.
I bet we do. I bet we do.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
All right, so Bears Nation has checked in from the chat, and they are not happy.
Oh, Ben Johnson needs his Sam Laporta. I know they're not the same, but he needs a dynamic tight end, and I think he got that in Loveland. I think that's a great pick, in my opinion.
I like him. I didn't like him better than
Yeah.
Warren.
I don't think Michigan did him any favors either. Their quarterback play was bad, so I think with better an offense in Michigan, his stats would have been closer to Warren's. And then a lot of people always said that Warren was a better blocker than Loveland, and I disagreed with that.
No.
Bill, right, exactly. But then Bill, right, I know, it was pretty insane. But then Bill's right, the most important thing, well, not the most important thing, but the thing that stands out is there's a large gap in run after the catch, without a doubt. Because Warren's elite at that.
Yep.
Listen, I'm going for if I'm an offensive coordinator, I want Greg that offense cannon accent just started to rub off on me. All right, so if I'm an offensive coordinator, I want a guy that's going to be a matchup nightmare. So yes, I want a blocker too. Don't get me wrong, but I want a guy that the defense is going to have a hard time covering. Warren is that guy in the middle of the field in the red zone. Loveland can get loose and make some plays, but he is the better blocker of the two. He's slightly bigger, all right. And when you look at him, frame-wise, he's actually a leaner frame than Warren is. So it's real interesting with that pick. And you think about it, it wasn't a need. If that was the highest player on their board, then great. But I can think of a bunch of players that were higher on my board than him. And so I didn't feel that pick at all. That's a question mark to me.
I've done several mock drafts, and in none of them did Colton Loveland go to the Chicago Bears.
Nobody.
So we're waiting on the Niners to announce their pick.
I think I had Mike. I had him trading up to Michael Williams, but now Michael Williams is available at 11. Is it that or Shamar Stewart? What are we thinking? Are we thinking edge?
I don't think it's either of them.
Williams.
I like the Williams pick.
I think the Niners should draft someone who can keep Christian McCaffrey healthy.
A doctor?
So you're saying an orthopedic surgeon?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Or someone who's using all natural remedies because whatever he's doing isn't working.
Aaron Rodgers, bring him in as backup quarterback.
Oh, there you go. Bring in some jasmine oils and some ayahuasca and garden retreats.
Well, obviously the Niners are one of the 3 teams I dislike in the NFL. So
yeah,
You're
I think the only guy that can keep him
sounds
healthy.
fair.
in your blood.
I think the only guy that can keep him healthy is the dude that's on the Eagles sideline. What's his name? Big Lou or something like that.
Big John.
That's Big Al you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't know what the heck his name is. I just know he's a big
I do.
dude.
Come on, man.
All right,
Key to
all
the
right,
city.
all right. Before we get to the Niners pick, I do have our trivia. The first question is going to be easy. So everybody, this is just easing you into the rest of my questions. So let me. All right. Everyone can see this, right?
No. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Sorry.
We're good? Okay.
I got it.
Jeez, that's too hard.
I know
Yeah.
it's a difficult one.
I'd buy that for $1.
All right. Tell me your answers.
6.
All right.
Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. was picked 199, so that clearly, puts him in. Oh wait, I should be waiting for people in the chat, right? To put
Yes.
the guys.
I can't see the chat. I'm only trusting you guys.
Well, nothing's come in the chat yet. So
All right. Well, then just lay it out there.
6 Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Next up. I hope this one stumps you all.
Well, here's the only answer that came in the chat, Ashmere.
Draft.
Very good answer. Thank you.
Best answer yet. Oh, man,
Yeah.
that's a good
Okay,
one.
All right.
gentlemen, you guys go ahead and tell me which of these had the most Hall of Famers, because I already know the answer.
I know you know.
Okay, so it's B or C.
And Mr. Cowboy, right, was in one of those, or one of the Mr. Cowboys, or whatever was in one of those drafts.
Well, if he's going with that, then I'm going to go B, 64. Because if he's thinking Mr. Cowboy,
You guys haven't. Do you know how many?
I'm thinking Roger
Okay.
the Dodger.
10
10?
Hall of Famers.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep.
All
Michael
right.
Williams
And
comes
Roger
off the board.
Staubach is one of those Hall of Famers. It was
Yep.
1964, gentlemen.
Yep.
All right.
Good job.
Mr. Cowboy, Roger.
Yeah.
So George,
Captain America, as some people call him.
Overrated.
You're two, and you're welcome. I started you off easy.
Cowboy is Bob
George.
Rose.
your Rams are going to have to protect against Michael Williams, who is now a 49er.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the Niners this year, to be honest.
Fair. But for the future.
For the future, yeah.
For the future.
Yeah, I'm okay
Great.
with that.
Great
All
run
right, now-
defender. And got some good. He's so long. How long is his arms?
He's ludicrously long. It's just
Yeah.
ludicrous. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
silly. It doesn't make sense.
6'5", edge
Also,
rusher.
another
Yeah,
guy that, there's definitely some developmental work that needs to be done. He can disappear at times, but there's certainly the components that you're looking for. In, once again, the length and the bend. There's guys I like better, frankly, amongst the pass rushing group than him, but I see what they see.
Are they projecting him to play on the left edge or the right edge? Have they said? Or
I think they're going to move him around. I think they're
Move
going to
him
flip him around and create matchups.
truthfully, if he's coming
Yeah.
off the defensive left side, I think Havenstein might have an issue with him. Havenstein would need help blocking him. But if he's coming off the right side, I think Alaric Jackson can handle him.
Yeah,
The Rams left tackle, I think he can. I think he would be able to handle him. Havenstein, I think, might be a step too slow, trying to go one-on-one. He would need help. I think
Greg,
Rams
the
would like
Cowboys
to
pick
chip
is
him.
in rather quick.
Yeah,
Ooh. Tyler Booker or Mecca?
Emmett Smith.
I think it's going to end up being Tyler Booker.
Tyler Booker, yeah. It's,
He's a
set it
20
and forget it.
He's 20 years old. He's a very young man who won with power. Can he keep doing the same thing in the NFL level? We'll see.
Well, going backwards, one player. When you talk about it, I like the move because, plain and simple, you needed to reload that pass rush in San Francisco. You re-add Robert Saleh to the mix to help coach the defense. One of the things you got to do, Bosa's starting to get to that point in his career where he needs help or he's going to start to burn out. There's a young man, Tyler Booker it is. All right, so, all right, you have to go out there and get flashier players that not only, yes, they could bend, but they have a power base. If you watch the way he rushes, his power comes from the legs, straight from the legs. Those knees bend, and he generates power from the ground and is able to shed blocks that way. It's not all bench press technique and rip. He has a low power base that's going to help him in the running game. It's going to help him rush the passer and collapse the pocket and avoid get those mobile quarterbacks getting away from him. So I think that's where you look at it. Because one thing with a speed rusher is once he flies by the quarterback, he's out of the play, and that guy is able to escape. Not with him. He will push a tackle back in straight rush and find the right time to disengage and get to the quarterback. So that's one reason why I think it works out for him. You got a power player who could be your 5 tech. He could also be your 7. So that was a good move. Adding Booker here. Desperately needed. We know about Zach Martin. They signed a bunch of guys who I think were going to compete as veterans, but they're not really long-term starter quality. This is your long-term starter quality. You look at your left guard. This is a mirror image, right? But a guy who, once again, doesn't get you the penalties that Tyler Smith gets you. But overall, a very strong player who's physical and will finish blocks.
The other thing is he's a guy with really great leadership, right? He's a guy that is going to rally people around him. He's a guy that's clearly used to being coached hard, comes from obviously a program with a really strong, winning background. But the thing that I think most impresses me, while he's, average in terms of a lot of things you can measure and, testing and things like that, look at the pop in his hands, right? I mean, he rocks people. Like he moves human beings against their will, places they don't want to go, in ways they don't want to be moved. And he plays with that streak. I mean, that classic offensive guard streak. He is one of those guys that wants people to remember him, right? And feel him and probably curse him once the game is over.
Oh, absolutely. Jeff, what did I say in the DM this morning? It was either going to be Egbuka or Tyler Booker.
Yeah.
And Brian Broaddus was right on the mark again, as he usually is with the Cowboys. So Mr. Broaddus was correct when he said Tyler Booker. Am I happy with this? I'm okay with it. I wanted Egbuka, but hey, this is what it is.
Greg, let me ask you, do you think Satan and Lucifer, Jerry and Steven, are going to try to go back to their heyday of the 90s, build through the offensive line?
Well, that's what they've done. Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker, all first-round draft picks.
There you go.
Again, but it's not going to be the Great Wall, because the Great Wall of Dallas, none of them were first-round draft picks.
No.
None of those guys.
No, but
No.
Jimmy had the right coaching staff to coach him up.
But some of those guys were there before Jimmy, right? You talk about Nate Newton was there before Jimmy.
Yeah,
Kevin Gogan was there before Jimmy.
I think Jimmy and his staff took him to another level.
Yeah, well, they modernized things. And honestly, the first year that Jimmy was there, the offense looked horrible.
That 1-15 season.
Because they had Schuler as the coordinator. It wasn't until he brought in Turner where their offense took off. So, but it was those guys. A lot of those guys were in place. They added the younger guys like the Eric Williamses, and that group, Stepnoski. Yeah, but and then some trades helped out too. You talk about guys that they got from like John Giesick, Derek Kennard, Frank Cornish. Not Frank Cornish, Ray Donaldson. Cornish came later. But they were smart in how they did it. They built through the draft. They added some guys in free agency. But those guys weren't highly touted guys that they turned into be a very good unit, one of the best of all time. But overall, this group here in Dallas, it could be good for a very long time if they fulfill their potential. If Tyler Smith continues to play the way he's playing, if Booker fulfills his potential, if BB becomes the center that they believe he's going to be. You talk about Guyton, if he comes to form this season, because he had the rookie struggles last year, right? The one question mark is Terrence Steele. Okay, Terrence Steele was undrafted for a reason, and he had a couple of good years, and he hasn't been the same player since. He's kind of going backwards. If he doesn't step up to the level they need him to step up on that right side, that's going to be the next position they need to replace on that offensive line.
Personally, for me, I want Terrence Steele the hell out of town. Get rid of him post June 1. Goodbye. You start Asim Richards at left tackle, and you move Tyler Guyton to his right tackle position that he played at Oklahoma. That's my dream. But We'll see what happens.
So Miami's pick is in. So wait while they're at commercial. You know,
They can go anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll consider Tyler Warren. I think they'll consider Kelvin Banks. They might look at corner. They could consider both Will Johnson and Jai Barron amongst the corner group. And, of course, they could use pass rushers because who can't?
Right.
So any of the pass rushers could potentially end up there as well.
And Shedeur Sanders keeps dropping down the board.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were talking if Pittsburgh doesn't grab him, that he's going to fall into the second round, maybe the third round.
I think somebody will come back into the first to get him.
Yeah, and once again, I don't think if he makes it past Pittsburgh, he might not make it past Seattle. I mean, there's teams I think would definitely consider him in the back half. And I mean, obviously, we've talked even about the Rams. I mean, there are teams that later in the first, and this is where he, once again, where he belongs, later in the first. I never saw a top 10 prospect, and I like him. I like things about him, but once again, my nickname for him was Swaggy Teddy Bridgewater, and so when you look at the same sort of qualities that Teddy Bridgewater had, the slender build, the toughness, though Bridgewater had better, sense of how to use the pocket, right? Better sense of where to be in the pocket and how to step up and things like that than Shedeur, who always sort of bails and sort of drifts, rather than stepping forward and using the pressing up in the pocket, which Teddy did do. That's the biggest difference in their play. But, anticipation throwing, that's something they both do at a super high level. They both see the field fairly clearly. Like I said, my main issues, just like Teddy, he doesn't have a great arm, right? He has to throw with anticipation because he can't gun it in there. But he can make throws deep down the field and outside the numbers, but he has to use loft and, like I said, that anticipation to get it done. So, to me, he never belonged in the top 10, but he'll go somewhere, I believe, in that, late teens to mid-20s area, which is where he always sort of belonged.
Well, Bill, do you think if his last name wasn't Sanders, that he would be getting the hype he's getting, or the coverage, or?
I think to some extent it works against him, actually.
Yeah, I agree. It's like he's living under the primetime shadow, and really, it's not fair to him. He's not Dion, and I don't think he tries to be. Everyone just sees Sanders, and I think it's an unfair disadvantage for him.
Yeah, I spoke to him, or yelled at him, I guess is the way we put it, at the Combine briefly, and he didn't answer my question, right, which I thought was interesting. But he clearly is very self-possessed. He clearly is not too big for him, all that stuff. You can tell he's used to talking to the press and dealing with attention and things like that. My only issues with him really are the physical aspects, right? He's, like I said, got that slender build, doesn't have a very strong arm, and he's developed some bad habits because his offensive line's been so bad. He has a tendency to get the happy feet and drift, and even when the pocket's clean, because he's so used to it being a mess, he bails and, like I said, drifts in the pocket as opposed to stepping up. And he's got to work on that. And I know that, that's one of the things that Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. and he had been working on because, of course, he's known him since he was a teenager, and Brady has worked with him some. But that's been a real area of growth for him. He's got to be.
Right, so let's, sorry to cut you off, Bill. Let's go to the Miami pick here. We've got Kenneth Grant. I want to hear, since Bill was chatting, let us know what your thoughts are on this pick for Miami.
He's a run stuffer.
This hurts the Buffalo Bills, who wanted a defensive tackle at the end of the first round, but the Miami Dolphins didn't have a replacement for Christian Wilkins. They now got one. Big time. Kenneth Grant was my preferred DT because of his size and his run-stopping ability compared to Mason Graham, who's much more of a disturber of a pass rusher. But the Miami Dolphins have got themselves a big DT, and it's a good night for guys from that school up north so far. And of course, we all know who I'm looking at in the background. of our program tonight. And yes, he's cheering and everything else. It's horrible.
We should have just made a game. How many
You know,
times?
Greg,
Yeah.
on draft night, you can say Michigan on draft night.
No, I do not.
Hey,
say
I'm
that.
watching. Earlier, I was watching the NFL Network. Charles Davis. I don't even know who the other guy was. It was Michigan and Ohio State, and they were actually saying the other school's name. So it can be done. I know you don't want to give Joe that satisfaction, but
Yeah. See, I just don't.
Yeah, the concern I have here is the team's issue has been pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a pass rusher. He's a run stopper. He can collapse the pocket from the inside, but it takes him a long time to do it and disengage. So the question is it because you feel you needed to help your linebacking core out and help the interior of your defense that you did this? Or do you think that he can be what Christian Wilkins, believe it or not, was in the top 3 in pass rush rate as a knee tackle.
Yep.
That's right.
So he was a guy that had that pass rush. Do you believe that he can do it? You feel like Michigan just didn't ask him to do it? That's a possibility. But if you look at the film, you don't see pass rush moves. You see a guy that's just he's like Ika a couple of years ago, who just took the guy and deposited him in the backfield, but it took him a long time to get there. And I think that's where you look at it and go, is he capable of more? We see how athletic he is. He chases people down the field when they break runs. But you don't see pass rush. And that's something that you're going to need to do to stay on the field for 3 downs in the NFL now. It's not the same NFL as it was in 1998.
So
they're
Jalen
saying
Walker,
that the coach selection's
Jalen
already
Walker
in.
not being picked yet,
Yeah.
along with Tyler Warren, surprises me to no end at this point. Tyler Warren should be the pick here, and yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
There
got
you
your wish.
Oh, good. My son was wrong. I can finally
No,
go.
well, that-
for sure. Yeah.
That's one thing that every mock draft I've done, Tyler Warren's gone at 14 to
Yeah.
Colt in every single mock draft I've done.
I had
Yeah,
him going
it
by
makes
this
sense.
point. So I think I had Loveland at one point here before I had them going somewhere else. But I had Warren off the board at this point in my mocks.
I think that's a good pickup for the Colts offense.
It is definitely, yeah. You talk about a guy who's going to matter in every point of the field. He's going to matter in 3rd down. He's going to matter on early down play action. He's going to matter on RPO. He's going to be able to stretch the field vertically. He's going to be able to hit you in the red zone athletically over the top. You can line him up outside against the corner and let him jump over him. He can do all of those things, which is why I said the Loveland pick and this one didn't make sense. Well, that's why. To me, this is the guy who's more dynamic. You know, if you felt that the other guy could be that dynamic, then that's fine. But Indianapolis just got a steal, in my opinion, because the top guy in that position fell to them at 14.
All right, so comparison of Tyler Warren, Brock Bowers, similarities, differences.
No.
What do you see here?
Big difference.
Okay.
Big difference. Brock Bowers is it strictly a move tight end. Tyler Warren can actually block and block decently. So that also helps with the Jonathan Taylor and all that running that they would like to do as well. But again, Tyler Warren can also throw the football. He's a left-handed quarterback.
Yeah. You can give Anthony Richardson a break when he needs one.
Exactly.
So, George, you guys are going to be on the clock soon, right? No, actually, no. You got to wait.
No, we're dropping. I
You
think
gotta
we're
wait
going
till-
26
All
picks.
right. Wish list for you guys. Well, what's on the board currently?
Honestly, I was actually looking at that right now. I don't think he's gonna be there, but the one I would love to see them get is, and I might be mispronouncing his first name wrong, but the way I see it, it's Jihad Campbell out of Alabama.
Oh,
He's in
Jihad.
that range.
Yeah, I would love to see the Rams get him because to this day, I still can't figure out why the Rams let Ernest Jones go. I know it was a business decision, but when they let him go, I said we need help in the inside with the inside linebackers. I mean, Rosenboom's gone. They just re-signed Troy Reeder, so it makes me a little hesitant to say that if he's there, they'll go linebacker. A lot of mock drafts I've seen that I see them going wide receiver, but I would love to see them if he's there to get Jahid Campbell out of Alabama. I think that's what they need.
Campbell's been one of those guys that's been mocked somewhere from 17 to 28.
I've seen him top 12 in some draft mock drafts.
I've rarely seen it.
I was like, oh, okay.
I pulled him out of my first round because of his injury
Shoulders.
concern. So he wasn't even in my first round last night. I think he goes round 2, guys.
Yeah, there's another one out of Georgia. I think he's still available.
Oh yeah, well, all the
Jalen Walker.
linebackers are available right
Yeah.
now. So.
Every single one of them.
But
Bar none, they're all on the board right now. So,
Jalen Walker is a tweener between being an edge and a linebacker. So
yeah,
Yeah. I see him more in edge.
yeah.
Yeah, see, the Rams are going to look at edge because
Right.
they're young at edge with Jared Verse and Byron Young.
Yeah.
So they got the edge rushers for for quite a while. It's that inside linebacker position that they're going to need help with.
and
We're
those
gonna
guys,
Carson
that's
Schwarzenegger.
going to be a hard position because we talked about how thin it is on the board. You look at running back, you look at quarterback, you look at the middle of the board, you see a lot of names. With linebacker, it's a couple of names, and that's it. Because it's just not overall a deep position this year. When you talk
Well,
about
Randall just named the guy that Mr. USC fight on would not like because he was a UCLA Bruin. Carson Schwarzenegger could be the guy that comes up into the first round and fills that bill for you.
For
And you know
Jihad,
what?
Yeah.
Once they leave college,
I like
they don't
Spencer
care what
Jones.
uniforms they wore in college. Once they're in the NFL, all that college junk is out the window. Yeah,
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, if it was a great hell, if Joe Montana, the Rams would have drafted him, do you think I would have been upset because he went to Notre Dame? Heck no. I could care less what college they go to if they help the Rams lift up another Lombardi trophy. That's all that matters to me.
Tell that to Greg.
Yeah, tell that to me.
I don't know,
I carry my hatred for that school up to no end. It does not stop.
Oh, once that their final season in college ends, I don't think about them from college football other than
I don't know. Ezekiel Elliott was haunting me for a very long time. So I couldn't say his name or Ohio State.
There you go.
See, this is being a pure fan. Ashmere is a pure fan, even though she cheers for those Ducks. I don't get, but
Oh, you know what that O on the helmet stands for, Ashmere? You know what it stands for?
Oh, shoot.
Number of championships.
Mm,
Ooh,
true.
Yeah.
Zero.
cold-blooded.
We always tell
That's true.
we always get our friend Monte on that one.
Yeah, and then we cry ourselves to sleep thanks to you.
so Randall, since you're the part timer tonight, Randall, we got to ask
Yes.
you about the Bills. All
Let's
right,
do it.
wish list for the Bills. It's your pick coming up.
Yeah, well, Kenneth Grant is gone, so that was kind of like 7 out of 10 mock drafts I do Kenneth Grant. But we're looking at, we'll see where Derek Harmon falls. If Derek Harmon could go to the Chargers, they could go to the Bengals. We'll see where he kind of ends up in the defensive tackle. So Derek Harmon's a possibility at 30. But if he's gone, we're looking at Trey Amos, Maxwell Hairston, Azariah Thomas in the cornerback department. Matthew Golden probably won't be there. I know that Buffalo talked to Pittsburgh about swapping their first, so 21 to 30, moving up. So if I had to guess, if they were going to trade up, they'd be going after Jahdae Barron, Will Johnson, those kind of prospects that we would love to have as a quarterback 2 to the other side of Benford. Or a wide receiver that would complete our room would be Matthew Golden. Derek Harmon would be great. If not, then I know that he has 2 teams that are interested, depending on the board, to trade back as well. So a trade back is certainly an option as well. But if I had to pick and stick and pick at 30, it would be Trey Amos from Ole Miss for sure.
Okay. All right. So the Falcons pick is in. So we'll be waiting for that to come in.
Do they stay at home and take Jalen Walker?
I think they go defense. Let's talk about defensive head coach. I think
Yeah.
that's the direction they're going to go with.
But
I think they go
stay-
Mike Green.
Yeah, but do they go with the Georgia guy, Jalen Walker? Because they don't they generally do not draft from Georgia. They generally don't.
Is there a reason for that?
I've never heard one.
Yeah, but
It's
generally
not
they
my
don't.
trivia question, so.
They don't,
Although
they don't take guys from Georgia generally.
What
Yeah,
about
it's just kind of
Harmon
like
out
a
of Oregon?
trend that we don't know, sort of thing.
What about them looking at Harmon out of Oregon?
Well, didn't they have a corner that they drafted from Georgia a few years back?
But it wasn't in the first round,
Yeah.
right? I'm talking about first round picks. They generally have not touched Georgia players.
They were going down to the wire too.
Because Philly takes them all.
Yeah, but Philly's taking them later.
Yeah, I know.
All right. The
There it
pick is Jalen Walker. So they did it this time.
Thank you
I
very
get the-
much. I got
That-
another guy correct.
Better than Mike Green.
Yeah, okay. And while we're waiting for the next pick, is it petty that I text my son that he was wrong about Warren?
No, you have to.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, you can't take credit for me now." He
Yeah,
That's
already,
what
he already came back at me.
Yeah, but the team that your son cheers for sucks. So you could just
Oh, no. That's my Ram fan son.
Oh, okay. The Rams.
He's the
fan
one. Yeah.
sucks. Okay.
My other son's a Viking fan, which
I know.
nothing I can do about that. But
All right, did we already give Walker his flowers for joining the Falcons? What he can bring?
When I see him, I see more of an athletic version of Nolan that came out a couple of years before, right? Both are superior athletes, but this one is more of a well-rounded pass rusher. Right? So when you talk about that tweener size, he can go out there and do so many things. You can play him as an off-ball backer and still blitz him and line him up in formation, or walk him up and let him do a lot of things. I expect the way Raheem Morris uses his linebackers, he's going to be that X factor linebacker. He's going to line up off the ball. He's going to line up, walked up in the gap, in that double A gap pressure look. He'll line up off the edge at times when they want to run an odd front. They're going to do a lot of different things to create matchups with him instead of just having him being stuck as an off the ball linebacker all the time. It's going to create a lot more confusion to move him around, let him do multiple things than it is to have him be a disciplined off the ball linebacker. So I think that's why they drafted him. It's an X factor for the defense, a defense that doesn't have one. So now you do.
Yeah, I mean that's how you get the best out of him, right? Is to use him like that because he's so athletic, and then he almost has a tackle for loss per game. You know, he hit the quarterback 12 times this season, 7 sacks, 5 QB hits, 31 defensive stops. So he's great defending the run as well. So you got to use him every way you can, and get those snaps up to 60-65%, and then he's just going to be a utility guy in that front seven. I love it.
yeah, but will Raheem also use him in pass coverage on the edge, out in the flats?
Yeah, well, he's going to be dropping. He's going to be doing everything. That's the beauty of a player like him is you don't know what he's going to do. And when offenses don't know, it creates a lot of confusion and protection. It fools quarterbacks. That's how you're going to get those underneath picks, right? He drops underneath a slant route. Yeah. So that's one of the things that he comes with, right? He brings to the table. He's a guy that can make your defense multifaceted by moving him around and playing games with, right? Micah Parsons is a very good comparison because he's able to do a lot of the same things where you can blitz him, you can line him up off ball. Now, Micah's more of an end now than he is a linebacker anymore, but early in his career, when he was doing both, that's what you saw from him. He was able to go out there and play off the ball, but when you blitzed him, when you rushed him off the edge, he was effective. And I think that's what you can do.
When I hear you talk about players like that, Jeff, it always reminds me of that guy from Miami back in the early 80s, AJ Dewey. They moved him around so much, you didn't know where he was going to line up. But,
you're bringing my youth back.
Oh, yeah, hey, I remember that. But I see players today a lot more athletic than AJ Dewey was. Granted, it was a different type of game back in the early 80s, but I always think about him when they talk, oh, he could play the inside, he could play the edge, he can drop in coverage, he can you can put him on the line. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. No one really talks about AJ Dewey, what he was able to do in the early 80s.
No, when you talk about the 80s, you talk about the Marino offense. You don't really talk about the guys like the Deweys. Listen, half the highlights in the early 80s were AJ Dewey making plays. So I don't understand why he didn't get enough love from a lot of people. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's a guy that should definitely at least be in their Ring of Honor or something. He was a very special player for that franchise.
Yes, he was.
All right, guys, we're gonna.
Bill, I think you're on mute. Is Bill on mute?
Well, we're gonna wait to hear what Bill has to say. We're gonna take a quick commercial before we get to the Cardinals pick. Everyone tuning in, thank you. We're gonna have George and Randall here after the timeout, whatever we want to call it.
You are watching Team NBS Media. We are a digital media brand covering sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. with team members all across the country. Through our written content, podcasts, and video content, we bring you fresh and professional content. Interested in joining the team? Shoot us an email or DM. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey everybody, this is Greg Rector from Team MBS Media. Once our Draft Central coverage has ended for this year, I will be returning with the final word on Saturday nights. So come and join me here on our YouTube and our X channels. And I hope to see everybody. Take care.
Yo, what it do, MBS crew? It's your boy Thomas here to let you know that on Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, it's the Off the Dome show, hosted by yours truly. It's a show that literally, whatever comes to mind, I'm going to be very outspoken about it, and whatever that is the hot topic in sports, entertainment, lifestyle, that's what we talk about, and that's what we do. Every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, it's the Off the Dome show, hosted by yours truly. We talk sports, we talk about relationships, we talk about any and everything that is important and makes us feel good inside. We just very outspoken over here. So again, Off the Dome, Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, hosted by yours truly, Thomas Brown Jr. And hope to see you there.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Christy Love with Team MBS Media, and make sure you guys tune in to my podcast, Foul on the Play. It airs every week right here on Team MBS Media. I cover everything Chicago Bears. I also touch on the NBA, the Chicago Bulls, trending topics throughout the NBA, and I also cover the Phoenix Mercury for the WNBA. That's right, so make sure you guys tune in to my podcast, Foul on the Play, only right here on Team MBS Media. Bye.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Weekly podcast which you can find here on Team MBS Media. I'm a local guy here in Maryland. I cover mostly all the DMV, all the local area sports. Ravens, Commanders, Orioles, Nationals, Mystics, Maryland basketball, of course, men and women's, college football, Maryland football as well. But I also try to get into a little bit of everything as well, from off the court to even do some interviews with players, different things like that. Big Nate Sports Talk is a central hub where you want to get your news, your commentary, all those things. So again, tap in, like, comment, subscribe. Big Nate Sports Talk. Check it out.
Welcome to Team NBS Media's coverage of the 2025 NFL Draft. For the next 3 days, we bring you analysis from the first pick to the last, with guests from all across the country sharing their opinions and insights on the players whose dreams are being realized over the next 3 days. Let's go to our hostess for the evening, Ashmir Prasad, along with our draft analysts Jeff Barnes and Bill Carroll.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Team MBS's draft show. Oops, I singled out Bill. I meant to do myself. If you've been watching with us live, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here. And we're going to carry on with what has happened since we took our commercial break. So, who did I miss? Walter Nolan.
Walter Nolan off the board to Arizona. So,
all right. I definitely want to see your guys' big boards while we carry on, so we could talk about what you think is going to come in the next 14 picks that we roll into here. So I'm telling my producer. And then while we wait, let's hear about what your pros are for Walter Nolan here. Bill?
To me, he's a top 10 player. He is a truly complete defensive tackle. He is a player that has power, technique. He is smart. He sniffs things out pretty quickly and diagnoses them. He can handle double teams, though he's not a true, 0 or 1. But when you do ask him to go in there and fight with 600-plus pounds of man, he does it. And he can definitely fight through, shoot gaps. Is very good against the run, but is also a guy who can really, really get pressure on the passer consistently. I think he's one of the best players in this draft class. I have a top 10 rank on him.
I like that. All right.
you know, we talked about it on Draft Central last night. People were saying they don't know if he loves football. Well, apparently somebody believes he does love football. It's why they took him now in Arizona. All right. There's certain times with certain narratives about players where you have to look past it and look at the player, because some people, I don't know what they're thinking when they do these interviews and they come up with stuff like he doesn't love football. You watch the film, I see a player that loved it at Ole Miss. He may not have loved playing for the program he played before, and there's always reasons for that, right? Well, guess what? He loved it there. You watched the player go to the Senior Bowl. You watched him play football. It looked like he loved it at the Senior Bowl, right? So you got to trust your eyes and stop coming up with these. Him and the coach didn't get along here. Listen, it happens. Not every coach and player get along. If you have all these investigators that you're supposed to have, they should be able to understand it. And sometimes a player-coach dynamic doesn't work. All right, so I think when they looked at this player in Arizona, they said, here's a guy that can improve our defense. He's going to be a long-term starter for us, a guy who's got a high upside, high athletic ability. How can we pass on this player at 16 if he's still available? And that's exactly what they did. It was a smart move by Arizona. It's an immediate upgrade to their defense. It's going to help them out immensely on that front, because he's going to be able to, yes, take on the run, but most importantly, impact the pocket from the inside. Something that teams need to do more often. We talk about the big body D tackles in this class, and a lot of those guys that are they're run stoppers. There's a guy who can stop the run, but he's going to rush your passer. He's going to make your guard look silly at times. That's what you love about Walter Nolan. Here's some guys that played along with him on that defensive line that are pretty good. You're going to see another guy from that same defensive line, that J.J. Begase, come up in day 2, possibly day 3, right? Who's going to be another one of the guys just like him who can go out there and impact the pocket from the inside. So I think this is a great pick for Arizona. Smart going out there and saying he's an immediate upgrade over what we got. Go pull the trigger on it.
So you had a receiver going here.
Yes. And the reason being because they've been in need of a receiver.
Yeah, I mean,
you talk about Ibuka, he's a definite upgrade to their receiving core, but they say I think they see the value in a receiver coming up later in the draft. They knew they weren't going to get this kind of D tackle they had on the board right now later on. You're going to get some good ones, but not this level.
All right, so next up we've got the Bengals. You've got Mike Green here.
I have Mike Green there as well.
Derek Harmon for me.
And then Bill, who'd you have?
I've had Mike Green in the past. I can't remember if I had him in the last one, but Mike Green and James Pierce are both guys I think could go there. Though those are teams, there are teams that are afraid of those guys. The Bengals have proven that. Oh, I have Derek Harmon in the most recent one. Okay, there it is. But I have in the past had James Pierce and Mike Green. I know that the Bengals are not quite as sensitive to personality stuff and off-field stuff as some teams are. So I could see them going with Pierce, Green, and yes, Harmon also is a good fit for them. Frankly, you saw that defense last year. They need talent on defense, period. There's not a position on defense they could not use. I would be shocked if they're not going to start.
I'm going to show you the pick, everybody.
Oh!
Well, he fell to him, right? We talked about how many people had Shamar Stewart go in top 10. I know a lot of people had him in their top 10 or in their mocks. So he falls to them here at 17. You have a choice. Mike Green, Shamar Stewart. I had Shamar Stewart higher on my board. He's one of my top 3 pass rushers on the edge. Not named, he's below Carter and he's slightly above Williams. So he's one of those
my number 29 prospect. So and I like him as a person. I like him as a person. He's super, super talented. I mean, freak. But he doesn't know what he's doing, and he admitted as much. So you're going to have to really coach him up.
Trey Hendrickson is a possibility for the Bengals to trade, but they want the world to get him out of Cincinnati. So I think that Trey Hendrickson stays where he is right now.
What is Cincinnati asking?
They're asking for the first and
future third.
Yeah,
I'd offer him a second and a fourth.
Yeah, that sounds about right. A future fourth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd give him a 2027 fourth round.
Specify.
Yeah.
See, when we asked what they were asking, that old Pete Puma voice came in my head. Oh, about 3 or 4 picks. So yeah.
All right, we've got Seattle Seahawks on the clock here, and I'm gonna put up their needs. I feel small, but I feel like the team was really, really struggling, greater than what it looks like they need from this draft.
Oh, they have a few more needs than that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, their pass rush wasn't exactly thrilling. They could use
A wide receiver.
They could definitely use wide receiver. They could use tight end also. They could use offensive line. They could definitely use defensive line, both interior and exterior. Like they have actually a fair number of needs.
A dynamic linebacker would help too.
Yes,
Wide receiver would help.
So pulling up Bill's mock here, he's got no McMillan coming here. So we're not going to refer to Bill's mock draft, but going to Jeff or Greg's, who did you guys have going to Seattle?
Okay, we'll pull up Greg's. We've been pulling up mine a lot. I don't want to be selfish.
Yeah. Get yours out of here.
So.
I had them taking Kelvin Banks because I didn't have Banks going as quickly as they did either.
That would make sense though.
But I mean, yeah.
I think I had a cornerback. Does it go back to back?
We'll find out right now, Randall.
Yeah. Outside of Cooper Kupp, who do they have in the receiver?
John A. Barron.
Room? Because I know they got rid of Lockett and Metcalf.
They got rid of Lockett, Metcalf. They did.
But they need an outs.
I know they brought Cooper Kupp in.
Yeah, they do.
They brought Cooper Kupp in.
So.
And who's their quarterback? That one I missed.
That is
The
Sam
boy.
Darnold.
Sammy.
The man of the hour, the man we talked about all season
Okay,
last year.
I forgot they had signed him.
How could you forget? He brought Cooper Kupp over there with him. He said, "We're gonna run the West out here."
Well, Sam Darnold's issue is he holds on to the ball way too long.
He always did.
Yeah.
With a worse offensive line, like
exactly
like black and white from Minnesota to Seattle.
Yeah, he got exposed last year in those final 2 games because he did have a great season. That last game against Detroit and that wild card against the Rams, he was exposed.
I think when you're looking at Seattle, though, they're just looking for improvement, and I feel like they changed the entire way that their team is going to look. Bringing in Sam Darnold, bringing in Cooper Kupp, bringing in anybody that they draft right now.
Yeah, and I think Kupp still got a lot left in the tank.
Yeah.
And he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder this year.
Yeah. I mean, just using him as a backup, just because Puka Nakua's got the heat on his feet, I feel like Cooper is definitely coming after teams for that exact reason. Yeah,
that's going to be.
Oh, there you go. That was a very good pick. Versatility in that interior offensive line.
Okay, I love that program.
Ray Zabel, North Dakota State. Ray Zabel took on every single defensive guy that wanted to go up against him in the Senior Bowl. And he stayed on the field. He stayed out there and took on every defensive player that wanted a shot at him, and every defensive guy wanted to take a shot at Gray Zabel. Yes, he went to North Dakota State. North Dakota State produces great offensive linemen. I don't care what anybody says.
I think
Gray Zabel can play the tackle position. He can play guard, and he may end up being a center. So this guy's got the whole package.
I think North Dakota State is one of the best run college football programs in the country.
I agree.
Yeah.
They are indeed. Anybody curious how he went off the board faster than Jackson?
Yeah, to be honest.
I love
Donovan
interviews.
Jackson.
I mean, I like both players, but my number 1 guard was Donovan Jackson.
Yeah.
Ray Zabel was my guard 4.
And Donovan Jackson got a lot better at the tackle position, so that versatility he has as a great guard and an improving tackle really is so clutch.
Mm-hmm.
This would have been my actual choice if the Cowboys were taking an offensive lineman. Would have been Gray Zabel instead of Tyler Booker. But okay, I'll take Tyler Booker. I'll be happy to have him and all that good stuff. But I would have loved to have seen Gray Zabel out there.
Where
And
would
you
you
know-
rank Zabel among the other tackles in this draft?
Oh, he's going to end up being a guard in the NFL.
Okay.
Yeah, they announced him as a guard.
Not 6'6". That's why he's being kicked inside.
Yeah.
Although
And-
we like 6'6" tackles too, and it's you know, that seems to be the going rate. They got to be 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" now at tackle.
Yeah. Yep.
I had him 42nd on my board for my top 100.
Yeah, he was my number 4 guard.
And he was 43rd on my list. So.
Okay.
Not surprising, Greg.
Well, yeah, our two boards are very similar, Randall. I don't understand.
All right, since the Bucks are on
27
the clock,
for me. I like Zabel a lot.
we're gonna go back to the trivia here. And tell me when you can see, because I can't see what you can see. Is everybody ready?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start the question here. Which team has never picked number 1 in the NFL draft? Number 1 overall.
Mm-hmm. Mine's going to be a guess.
Go ahead.
I think it's the Packers.
I'm going with Packers because I know Pittsburgh, they had a number 1 overall.
Yeah, we've picked number 1 overall before.
Yeah.
So I knew it couldn't be us. And obviously, we know for a fact that the Broncos have had a number 1 overall pick before. So it's pretty much got to be the Packers.
Yeah, it's the Packers.
Yeah.
It's actually the Broncos.
Oh, really?
Really?
I was surprised myself.
Well, now I'm going to throw a flag on this.
Okay, flag.
They traded up to get to number 1, but they have had the first overall pick because John Albert Elway Jr. was the first overall player in 1983.
Yeah,
they
Yeah,
had
but he
to
was-
trade
but
up
he
to
was
get
drafted
the
by
spot,
the
but they
Colts.
picked number 1 overall.
But he was drafted by the Colts, not by Denver. They
Exactly.
traded that.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting they made the trade after.
Elway threatened to go play for the
Come
Yankees.
for me for this question. I had it ready. I had my stats ready to tell you that exact thing.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I knew it. Right. I knew that.
The first, you know,
After
draft and
Quincy, you'll
trade
pick
of
the
a
Yankees,
quarterback.
yeah.
Of course, the second one was Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning.
Yeah.
All right, my next question. In the 21st century, how many first overall picks have not been quarterbacks?
Huh.
Can't be
I'm
3.
going to go C.
6.
I'm going to go B.
I'm going
going
to say
3.
6.
I don't know why. I'm going with A.
No,
Okay.
it's C. It's C.
6. Yeah, I'm going with 6.
All right, can you name them, Greg?
Jalen Walker was the
Mario Williams.
Mary Williams.
Mario Williams, Trevon Walker.
Miles Garrett,
Miles Garrett. Yeah.
Jadeveon Clowney,
Jadeveon Clowney, and
What pick was Joe Thomas? Was he 2?
Jake Long.
Jake Long, yes.
Long. That's right, Jake
Yes.
Long. I knew it was an offensive lineman.
I think Joe Thomas was 2 or 3 when he got
Yeah, I
drafted.
think it was top 3. I don't think
Yeah, it was Jake Long. I knew it was one of those. Jake Long was first overall. Yeah, I knew it was.
And Courtney Brown.
I was right. Courtney Brown. Way to go, Browns. Another Penn State guy who didn't quite work out. But
the
yeah,
black hole of first round picks is clear.
Yeah.
First overall picks.
yeah.
I stumped you guys. I told you I was going to get harder,
Yeah.
okay?
Well, I don't remember names for.
I threw you the softballs in the beginning, and you guys are
can ask
grabbing
me
them.
about previous draft cycles in the middle of a draft cycle. That'll work for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it like
I think
Hogan.
your whole brain.
Computers. Yeah.
I mean, Tampa Bay's been on the clock for it feels like a million years.
For real.
This could be,
Is this Jihad
could be
Campbell?
Barron. This could be Jihad Campbell. This could be. Let's see. Who else could it be?
Will Johnson.
Maybe Will Johnson, right? Because I know they're looking at corner. I know they're looking at linebacker.
And I know that they had interest. I know that they also
Stage
showed
now.
interest in Trey Amos as well. So
And it could
Come on,
right. He's in
Let's see
consideration
what
as
Randall
well.
got here.
I'm sorry, Randall. I'm sorry.
God,
These taking your guy.
Oh, Mecca. I kind of like that.
There,
wow.
there goes a Mecca.
I
Holy
was-
Lord!
I was gonna say
oh,
Luther.
man.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of boards projecting him dropping down to the Rams.
Oh, what a receiving core they have.
Yes,
I know.
Shabby.
Insane.
Not too shabby.
it is crazy there.
Everybody's
Right.
getting a little extra height. I noticed here. All these guys are getting a little taller. But
Hey, when I was in my high school football program, I was 2 inches taller, 15 pounds heavier.
nice. But Ibuka is that guy who's what I call boring good, in that he does everything at a very high level, but none of it is exciting to watch. Right? He runs routes at the right depth, the right tempo. He has a really good sense of how to set guys up, and he's deceptive, tracks the ball well. But he doesn't have anything that just wows you, right? He's a medium-sized guy with medium athletic ability. But the one thing he does super well is catch the football and get open. He's going to get open and catch the football. And he's going to have that who's a good example of the kind of career he's going to have? When I think of guys like, Haitian, played with the Colts, Haitian wide receiver, went to
Pierre
Mount
Garçon.
Right. It has that Pierre Garçon kind of career where I don't think he's going to be a star, but he's going to be a really solid contributor.
And
You know, bro,
Ibuka-
like if he's
Ibuka
a good
has-
route runner, got
Yeah,
good
oh yeah.
hands,
he's
that's the
excellent.
wow factor for me. Not
Yeah.
what's his 40 time. No, how is his route discipline?
No, his,
How
his
is he
route discipline is
separated from the defensive back?
Emeka Ibuka has more receiving yards than Marvin Harrison, Terry Glenn, Chris Carter, all of those great Ohio State wide receivers over
Yep.
the years. Ibuka is the number one guy.
Yep.
So the one thing that intrigues me when you look at the success that Ohio State's had with all of these wide receivers, how is Brian Hartline not a offensive coordinator or a head coach somewhere?
He's had interviews.
Yeah,
He's
you
had
know what I'm saying?
interviews. Yeah.
With all of the stuff he's done for these Ohio State receivers, he is still in Ohio State as a receivers coach. Most guys would have been, head coaches with full carte blanche over a program by now with the stuff that he's done. So
He's also the passing game coordinator, if that helps.
yeah, yes. That's a way to keep you there. But that's
He may be
intriguing
content
to me.
staying there. There are a lot of guys who don't want to move on. They're content at the job that they have.
Oh, he's interested in being a head coach. He's talked about it, but he wants it to be the right opportunity. 3 MAC schools have tried in the past to bring him over. So, in case you're wondering, he's had interviews. He just hasn't had the job he's wanted come yet.
This is the second
No, he's
running
not.
back taken.
Emeka Ibuka is not the next Mike Evans. He's a
Well,
far
Denver's
cry.
pick is still on the clock. So
He's a far cry from Mike Evans.
So do you see him more playing like the slot position? When
I
they
think
go 11
he's
personnel?
going to mostly play in the slot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can play him in a slot. You could play him as a Z because he's big enough to be a Z, and it keeps him off the line of scrimmage where he doesn't have to get beat up by the corner at the line. You can still, you go as a Z, you can motion him around. So he can play that. He can play in the slot. He can do so many things. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to move him around, let him play around a little bit, kind of a Brandon Cooks type role.
So when you're looking at what Tampa Bay needs, according to what
Yeah,
the
Chad
internet
Campbell
says,
is obviously going to be considered here.
why do you think they went wide receiver here? Is that best player on the
It might have
board?
been best player available. It also might be because of the fact you have injury history. Chris Godwin has missed 2 of the last 3 years
Right.
with injury. Mike Evans is getting older. You're not going to have him forever. So you got to get younger at the position. You drafted a nice young receiver last year, but you need more than that. Okay, It's because of the injury history, because of the fact that you need at least 3 or 4 really good receivers in today's NFL, because some teams have 3 or 4 really good corners to match up with your receivers. So if you want to play matchup football, you've got to add more tools to the shed. This definitely does that, and it allows you to rebuild that receiver room before it gets too old.
I just want to say no Mike
100% agree.
Evans slander because LeBron James is friggin' 17 years old and he's still dunking on people. So I think Mike Evans is not aging until the time really comes.
LeBron doesn't get hit by safeties.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
But again, I had Matthew Golden going to the Buccaneers in a previous mock draft of ours for this very reason. Mike Evans is an older receiver. Chris Godwin had the injury history, so that's why I said Golden to go to the Bucs. He would have been a nice option as well as Ibuka, but again, they chose the right guy, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. And the thing about Ibuka, also, once again, a really good blocker for a guy his size. He's one of the better, pound for pound, one of the better blocking wide receivers in this draft class.
Ask Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins how good he was downfield blocking for them.
Yep. He takes pride in his blocking.
Yep.
You know, and that's one of the things with the Rams. I'm going to be very interested in watching with Devontae Adams, because I don't really watch him up close, obviously, but to be a receiver in the Rams system, you have to block.
Correct.
Is Devontae Adams going to be willing to do the blocking that's necessary to get?
I'm not taking Devontae Adams slander. And anyways, I'm just kidding.
No slander. Like, I'm curious, will he block?
Curious too.
Obviously, the way Puka used to block. I mean, not Puka.
And also saying he's going to take credit for any problems that happen. Like, he's already trying to build like that community with his new team.
Oh yeah, if he's smart, him and he's got the day he signed, he should have been on the phone with our quarterback and hey, let's get together, let's start working, let's build that chemistry.
It's amazing what success he could have with a quarterback that actually wants to do the off-season work, as opposed to the guy that didn't want to do it, that he went to New York for.
Woo!
Yeah.
Shots being fired here.
So I'm
spitting facts. That's what he does. He does
I know. All right, we're on the Denver side of things, and we saw Bo Nix do a fantastic job last year with all of the slander he was getting. Denver was, I think, spectacular in the AFC West. I feel like they really got to a place we didn't think they were going to be at. So let's roll into Randall's mock here and see what you have.
Who did I take? I think I did Colston Loveland.
Yeah.
I went here. Yeah.
All right.
They could go corner.
Derek Harmon could be an option on the D line.
Yeah.
They might go to Luther Burden as a wide receiver as well.
That'd be a good pick.
Greg's got Omarion Hampton here,
and I gave them the running back.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think the running back struggled at the running back. Like last year, it was absolutely terrible. If you had any of them on your fantasy team, you were miserable. So I think the running back position is a great way for them to change.
Javonte Williams will be fine in Dallas. Okay, don't give me any of this bad stuff about Javonte Williams. He's going to be fine in Dallas.
Pick is in.
Here we go.
Got
I think that's a bad move. Sorry, Greg.
I know. I agree.
You know, I have to admit, Bo Nix made a believer out of me last year. I didn't think what he did in Oregon was going to cross over into the NFL. He made a believer out of me.
Hey, Oregon makes good quarterbacks. The entire AFC West is
okay. Outside of Justin Herbert, Bo Nix's rookie year, and Dan Fouts.
Marcus Mariota was okay, but he was getting murdered.
Yeah, he's a good backup. That's about it. But I can only name those. Really, Justin Herbert and Dan Fouts as starting quarterbacks from Oregon, and like, okay, they're doing something in the NFL. Well, Bo Nix had a great rookie year.
Norm Van Brocklyn's a Hall of Famer, and of course, played with the Rams.
Okay, I forgot he went to Oregon.
And of course, Jade Bear in the corner from Texas is the favorite.
There we go. That's my cornerback one. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, you've had him at your top of your list for quite a while.
Yeah, and that AFC West, that's a good pickup for Denver.
Will Johnson is just sliding down the
knee, right?
I'm going to tell you this. This is going to be interesting, right? Will Johnson keep sliding?
Yep.
Who's the master of catching sliding players? Howie Roseman. Right? Could you imagine he falls to Philadelphia? Just add another tool to that defensive shed.
Oh.
Do not mention that team until it's 32. Okay.
Right.
I take it, Greg, you didn't watch the celebration parade when they won?
No, I don't watch anything. I don't watch anything from that god awful city.
Not even Rocky? Come on.
No, Rocky sucked. He sucked. He lost.
Oh,
He lost to Apollo Creed. What happened afterwards?
Yeah.
Well, now we're gonna find out. Pittsburgh
All
gonna
right,
take Sanders.
Steelers.
Right.
I bet they run this full
I
block.
won't be shocked if it's a defensive player. I know everyone's talking quarterback, but
Yeah.
the drafting personality in Pittsburgh is different from what people often want. Now, it could certainly be. It could be a quarterback, but I won't be shocked even a tiny bit if it's a defensive player.
You wanted a replacement for Cam Hayward, who is older. Derek Harmon is the guy who would go here, right?
Harmon could be a fit there. A little early for a guy like Darius Alexander, who I'm a huge fan, but it's a little early for him.
Hey guys, I'm gonna step away for 1 second.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised at all if it's Malachi Starks, right? I mean, this team truly still cares about defense in a way that most NFL franchises don't. And yes, they could use a running back. I don't think they're going to take one here. Obviously, they could use corners and defensive tackle. Quarterback, I just don't think they love this quarterback class. Everything I've heard and everything I'm sensing from Pittsburgh is that they're not sold on this quarterback class at all. What doesn't mean they won't take one, but I think they are seriously considering other things. So we'll see very soon. But could be Mike Green, could be James Pierce, because you never have too many good pass rushers, but they want to continue to build that offensive and defensive line group. So, like I said, I won't be shocked, almost no matter what it is. There's not too many positions they could take that would shock me. Wide receiver is the only thing I'd be clearly like, and even that would shock me. I'd be surprised if they took a wide receiver here. But I think almost any other position, other than tight end and wide receiver, I could understand and see.
I think it's going to be Derek Harmon. I think Derek Harmon.
I'd be happy with Derek Harmon, yeah.
Hayward's age is up there. I mean, he's 35 now, isn't he?
Yeah, yes, correct.
So,
yeah, and he's played at a high level for, well over a decade now. And you just get, here we go. Take us in. Excellent.
Wait,
Greg, you're rolling.
Yeah.
There we go, Derek Harmon. Yes.
Nice.
There he is.
Good call.
All right, Bill, tell us why you thought Steelers were going defense here.
Because of the Steelers. Now, if you want me to continue to elaborate, I know this team, right? I mean, I've been following this team since September 17th of 1971. So I have a pretty good sense of what they like to do. And this team, like I said, still believes that defense is how you win championships. Now, we're going to find out if they're right or wrong pretty soon. But Derek Harmon is, once again, another of the freakier guys in this draft class. And he does match up physically a lot like Cam Hayward does. Like, he has a lot of the same he's not as strong against the run, frankly, but he could get there, right? That's where you still could grow and develop. But he is a guy that plays hard. He can range up and down the line. You know, you can play him. You can, Chris Jones style, kick him out to the edge at times even. He can play that 4-eye at a high level. He can play the 3. He can play the 5. Like, he can play a bunch of positions along the defensive line. He's an active guy who's smart and tough. And I think the biggest thing is, once again, you look at Cam Hayward, and once again, he's played really well for a long time, but at some point you need somebody to learn from him, right? So I would tell Derek Harmon to follow him around like a lost puppy and do everything that he does. Go where he goes, do what he does, say what he says. Because not only is Cam Hayward obviously a fantastic football player, but this is a guy that's been a Walter Payton Man of the Year finalist, I think, 5 times in his NFL career. So that tells you about what he is as a person, as a human being as well. There's nobody finer. And if this guy can be even 80% of what we've gotten from Cam Hayward, it's a great pick.
And I have no idea. I have no idea what the Chargers are going to do, because there's only one guy from that school up north who's not been taken. Is this a spot where Will Johnson goes?
So, I'm going to give you guys a stat here. The Chargers team was held to 17 points or fewer 7 times, including the playoffs last season.
Yep.
So that can help base where you think this is headed, Greg.
Well, I can guarantee you it's not a Michigan player because
No,
they're all thinking right now. So
except for Will Johnson. He's the
well,
only guy.
that's the one. That's the one.
But again, I think they go to a wide receiver. I'd take Luther Burden here, or Matthew Golden.
Well,
who did Pittsburgh take?
Pittsburgh.
Sanders. I'm just kidding.
Derek Harmon, D tackle from Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we know Sanders will be day 2.
One of the better pass rushing big D tackles in this class. You know, because a lot of these guys are run stoppers. He'll stop the run, but he knows how to rush the passer.
He had 55 pass pressures in his final season here. So yeah. But again, he also had a very good nose tackle playing beside him, which opened up a lot of holes for Derek Harmon.
Is Sanders at the draft?
Yep.
That's the only thing I kind of feel bad for. The guys that do show up thinking they're going to go the first round and they end up sitting there all day and not get selected. I do feel for those guys.
Well, it's like a publicity stunt. Like, he had to be there. It would have been crazy if he didn't go.
Yeah, I know he put something out earlier today that his training or his upbringing prepares him for whatever's going to happen today.
His dad being his coach and yelling at him. Yeah, that would prepare me for anything too. All right, we're on the Chargers, on the clock. I already said what their offensive power was lacking of last season. So let's look at Randall's mock here and see. Where am I? I can't even see. Oh, here we go.
Oh, yeah. So Chargers, I had that moving up for Ted McMillan and then going back because I really thought that Ted McMillan would work being that outside X to hockey sort of thing. So, but yeah, that did not come to fruition. So my mock draft is like
you're busted.
20, so. Yeah, over 21.
But it's okay. Greg had him falling to 22.
That's right. I had him falling to 22. But again, we had to put these in before Wednesday night show, and again. The talk had been that Gilliland's falling down boards. Of course, he doesn't end up falling down this year. What else is new?
All right, Bill. Colston. We're running through everybody here.
Yeah, those guys are long gone.
Yes.
All 4 guys. All 4 players are
I mean, they probably don't trust Kamani Vidal to take over big running back duties, right? Is running back an option right now for them? Because Jim Harbaugh loves his running back, so...
He does, but do you go for it at this point in the draft?
Yeah.
Is the question.
No, I think you can get somebody in the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah, somebody's got to break the glass, though, right? Eventually, like everybody can't balk until a certain time and then just go on a run.
That's going to be fun tomorrow. That's going to be running back, wide receiver, cornerback, offensive tackle. All that's going to be fun tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
lots of fun.
Bill, I think you're on mute.
Does he go to Donovan Jackson possibly?
It makes sense if you want to upgrade the interior of your offensive line.
Yeah, on the left-hand side.
Well, they're sure enough taking their time. They're down to 145 and counting.
Harbaugh's probably just coming off the beach. He probably went surfing.
He's like, I didn't need to rush this.
That man belongs in prison.
Yeah, we knew you were going to say that.
Pretty extreme.
What? He cheated.
Yeah. If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Oh, it must kill you that they won it a couple years ago, Greg.
Don't remind me.
Hey, I suffered in the late 80s watching Notre Dame knock SC out of the top spot when Rodney Peete was our quarterback. And we couldn't beat him.
No one cares, Greg. Move along.
I know. That's coming from inside the house.
Yeah. What do you think about that guy transfer from Notre Dame coming to SC, Greg?
The personnel
Yeah, we
guy?
picked up someone from Notre Dame in the portal.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we picked up another linebacker out of Penn State. He's got 3
I,
years
I,
of
I
eligibility.
knew Angeli, the quarterback, went to Syracuse, but
Yeah. I think we got the guy from Notre Dame maybe a couple of weeks ago, but I forgot to give you a hard time about it.
Oh, okay.
Can't do that to my brother in
a
anger.
wide receiver here. I mean, that's all I think.
Well, 20 seconds and counting.
Burton.
They're
You
looking
know,
to trade
we haven't
out.
seen-
Looking to trade out. Yeah.
We haven't seen that happen in a long time where you don't get the card in and the run starts of teams running the picks up to the table. So
When was the last time that happened?
Byron Leftwich's draft class. What was
Yes.
that, 2008, 2007?
2007, wasn't it?
Right. It was 2007.
Don't pull a Viking. Get the card in. Exactly.
Pull the Vikings. That way I can, I know my son was ticked off about that. Oh, you guys brought up Christian Ponder. When the Vikings drafted him, my son was livid that they drafted him.
For sure.
And this, you got to figure, when did Ponder get drafted? And so when did he get drafted?
Oh, he's pick number 12, I believe.
How about the year? Because my son was young.
Oh,
when he
2011. Yeah, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
2011.
my
so
son
he
was
was
like 5 years old when he got drafted.
He was
and
the
was
fourth
livid.
quarterback taken in 2011.
5 years old, and he was livid with that pick.
He was right.
Good kid.
Well,
We've
no
seen that
trade.
before, right? How many times have we called out guys in the first round and go, why is he getting taken in the first round?
Oh,
I remember
that about him. You can say that about Jake Locker. You can say that about J.P. Losman.
I remember
We can
the
go down
Rams
the list.
when Georgia was trying to lose so she can get out of LA and go to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Her first round selection, I can't even remember the guy's name, but he came out of Winston-Salem. And he was like a top 10 or top 15 pick for the Rams. I'm like, I never even heard of Winston-Salem, and this is our first round pick. But again, this is when we got to lose so we can move the team to St. Louis.
And it's taking forever for him to come to the stage with this pick.
Right.
Well, it took them forever to get it in. So now they got it. Okay. I mean, I think they turned that card in with 3 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see Jeff's big board here as we come to what are we at?
Well, we can go to the board over here. So
Yeah, after, I feel like we have to see who's your guys' top from 23 on.
Right.
as we go
Here's Starks.
since everyone's bracket is busted.
Nick Scourton.
Nick Scourton is on mine.
Pick is in.
I've got Pierce, Starks, Scorton.
And they go running back.
Running back, Hampton.
Marion Hampton.
I did it.
Okay.
Well, there it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
They did take the
Bruiser.
running back.
Big,
Yeah,
strong,
James
fast
Conner.
kid from Carolina.
Yeah.
Area of growth, blitz pickup, and catching the ball. So if he wants to be a 3-down back, he's got to work on those two things. And his vision is hit and miss. Right? Sometimes he misses cutback lanes and things like that. But he's got the speed to turn on and has that second gear to pull away from people in the other field. He can break tackles. He's a tough kid. He's got, once again, as I like to say, all the components, all the building blocks of a potential lead back, number one running back.
Oh, God, ground chuck. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to hit Jeff here at the big board.
The big board.
Nope, right here.
There we go. All right.
There we go.
We're going to take this mobile. We're not going to leave it on the stand here. All right. So let's look at the positions that are left. We're going from the top of the board down. So Cam Ward gone. Sanders, Dart still there. Jonte gone. Hampton gone. Travion Henderson, Johnson, Judson. All right. Top two receivers gone. Golden still there. Abuka's gone. Burden still there. Both these tight ends off the board. Tackle wise, okay, let's look. Campbell, Banks, Membu, all gone. All right, so you have Connolly, Belton, Trapillo still around. All right, Donovan Jackson, all right, still on the board. Booker gone, Zabel gone, Ratledge is still available. All right. Going to the defensive tackles, Tyleek Williams out of the top defensive tackles still on the board. Otherwise, you're going to start digging into the lower rounds. All right. Edge rushers, right? We finally seen Stewart come off. Michael Williams gone. Mike Green still around. Ezaraku still around. Pierce still around. Scorton still around. All right. Jalen Walker came off the board. Stewart not come off. Jalen Walker came off. Sorry. All right. Jahad Campbell still on the board. Knight still on the board. Stutzman going to the corners. Okay. Will Johnson still hanging around. Barron and Hunter are gone. Thomas, Morrison, Ravel still hanging around. And at the safeties, you got a glutton of them here. Talking about Eamon Worry, Watts, Starks, Bowman, and Ransom. So there's still a lot of talent on the board. If you're looking in the second round, the value is going to still be there for a few of these players, cornerback especially, safety, and more towards the back end of it. We're starting to dig into the tackles pretty good, but there's still value at wide receiver, value at running back, value at back end of the round. You still value at quarterback, value at edge. There's still some edge rushers here. So D tackle, still some D tackles here. So there's still value at the positions that we said are deep, and the only ones where you're not getting value, linebacker. Okay, right? There's not much here, right? You look, we're going to ignore the lower rungs here, right? Not much here at linebacker, right? So not a lot of value at that position right now.
Well, my 16-year-old son just texted me with a prediction for the Rams. He's saying that he's calling it now that they're going to get Matthew Golden.
Might happen.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah. No, I would be mad if he's right.
Oh, sorry. Right.
Yeah, no, he's making these selections and like, how are you getting your information? So I don't know if he's following you guys and not telling me and looking at your mock drafts, or
he might be.
He might be.
He might be.
So he's already. If I get it right, you better give me credit. But I know he's at our friend's house watching the draft, so I know he's not watching the show right now. But
well, I still tell you that it's going to be Jackson Dart.
I wouldn't mind that, but like I said, I still have hopes out for Jaheed Campbell.
Yeah, Campbell looks like he's falling because of his injury, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this is the range. We talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
The sweet spot for him was going to be 17 to 28. And it looks like right now that's where he's sitting right now.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know how my son's getting his info. Like I said, he predicted Stephen Avila 2 years ago. It threw me off. Like, how did you know who he was? I'm like, we don't watch TCU football.
He might be.
And he's an SC guy like me. Sorry, Greg. But I was like, how did you know who this guy was? So I don't know what he watches or what writers he's following. And same with my other son, because they're coming out with stuff. I'm like, okay, I haven't even heard this yet. So if he's right, I'm gonna have to bring him on the next time.
You get them.
So Randall, in our DAT draft that you and I did, who did I take at running back?
I don't remember. We drafted like 500 people. Who did
Amari
Hampton. Okay.
Was my guy. And
I can't remember what running back I took.
And I took that DT fella that you guys wanted from that school up north as well. So see, I don't have a bias against that school. Okay. It's just
there were awards to be won, so you just look past it.
Yeah.
All right, I was going to ask everyone this question earlier, but since we're 2.5 hours into the show, I wanted to know what your guys' energy drink of choices or caffeinated beverage while we're at pick 23.
Coffee, black, hot. That's it. That's
Greg's
all.
was already known.
Yeah.
If I have to do it, it's extra strength 5-hour energy.
Mm.
The little shot.
All right, Bill.
I'm a water guy.
Oh.
I get my energy from water.
Well, then nobody else. That doesn't make me feel good because I was having a clean.
I've never even seen that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The blueberry.
What's your drink of choice, Randall?
Cold brew, and then if I'm very tired, I throw a shot of espresso in there.
Oh, there you go. And Mr. Jeff?
Oh, we already know it's coffee.
Listen, it's my coffee has been on. My coffee maker's been on overtime all week long. You're talking to a guy that's been working on.
He's got the IV drip.
So
You know, coffee doesn't do it for me. It doesn't give me that burst of energy.
it saved me this week.
Yeah.
Like when we drove to Georgia, the last 2 summers for a baseball tournament, we went nonstop. So this last trip, I think I had on the way up there, I had 3 or 4 energy drinks, the 5 hour, and the same coming back because it was like 33 hours to get up there this
Oh
year.
my God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The
You should
reason
switch to
why,
a yerba mate because they're really good for you and they come from the earth.
And who makes it?
Oh, that's very nice.
Clean.
Clean?
clean.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that.
They're
Yeah.
very-
I haven't dipped into the yerba mate, but I see it all the time, so I'm curious.
It's like herbal caffeine, right?
Right.
So you won't get
Yeah.
the crash.
I remember my oldest, when he was still playing baseball, we were at a tournament in Vegas. I think every day my sister brought me a cup of coffee, and I'm like, I'll drink it. I mean, it was good, but I'm not a coffee drinker. I drank more cups of coffee that weekend than I do all year.
Well,
Wow.
do the Packers take a corner?
I had him for Maxwell Hairston.
Because of course, you know, we know that Jair Alexander is on his way out.
You think they finally do a wide receiver in the first round?
I don't see that happening.
No. Break the curve while Aaron Rodgers is not on an NFL team.
That
how
man should
would
retire.
it be if they did take one without Aaron Rodgers on the roster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers should retire. He should have retired 2 years ago.
I concur.
I believe Bill said it a week or two ago about waiting for an injury, which makes sense. Half a season. I concur with Bill.
Let's see who's on Jeff's Packers pick here. Josh Simmons.
That could happen.
And Randall's got a cornerback. Bill has edge. Okay. I think he was already picked.
Yes, he was.
And another pick for Greg, edge. Okay.
I have
like
Mr. Ezeruku from Boston College going to the Packers.
We're patiently waiting as they're
Yeah.
playing out of home. You know, this is what happens when you're hosting the draft. You start playing.
Oh yeah.
And we also should have suspected that as we get down here, these teams got needs, you know? The Packers have needs.
Well, it looks like a warm night in Green Bay. You know,
Let's see, what do the Packers need? Oh, exactly what we're all selecting here.
Yeah, I believe Buffalo put in a request for the 2029 draft, and there's an 80% chance that it's going to be 35 degrees that day.
Matthew Golden, they've broken the trend.
Hey!
They've broken the trend.
Oh my Lord, they've done it. They've done it.
Yeah. That is very funny. But
We have witnessed history.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the expletives are flying out of Aaron Rodgers' mouth right now in his private residence. You know, wait till he's gone to draft a wide receiver in the first round. Well, Jordan Love appreciates it.
There are a lot of 2022 kids in this draft.
A lot of early declares.
Yeah.
You know, and you look at Matthew Golden, he's not the biggest. We're talking about 5'11", so he's not that big receiver we're seeing, but he's got burst, he's got long speed, he has the ability to get behind the secondary. Still an unfinished product in my opinion. I think he's a guy that you bring him in. He's going to improve your receiving core by his natural talent. But overall, he's a guy that you have to continue to groom to be that number one guy. He's going to be the closest thing they have to that right now. So I think that's the main thing right now. You're looking at him coming in from Texas. He's going to be the guy that they groomed to be their number one. They haven't had one. They've had a bunch of Robins, and everybody keeps saying we need a Batman. Well, here's your Batman.
100% agree.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
You know, unsurprisingly, a guy with a strong track background as well. And he's very good at the things he's very good at, but he doesn't do everything yet. I think that's what Jeff sort of alluded to. He's not a 3-level wide receiver yet. So that part of his game is going to have to be developed, where he learns more about using route tempo and stem and things like that, be more deceptive, set players up in coverage. But yeah, he's got raw talent. And the pick is in.
I'm surprised that Minnesota wasn't trying to trade back with their limited capital this year.
That's fine by me.
Well, I think they had somebody already in range, right? You look at it and say, "Oh, he's falling to us." If it's not Green Bay's pick, we're turning that card in, and that's the smart thing you do. You're looking 3 and 4 picks ahead and saying, if that's there when we're picking, we're taking that guy. Fill out the card. Don't wait. We're not going to talk about it. We've already talked about it for the last 3 picks.
Yeah,
great point.
I see safety here for Minnesota. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, but Harrison
Malachi
Smith,
Starks finally comes off the board, probably.
yeah,
Here.
he is too old to carry on playing 17 games at safety.
Somebody had Nick Emenwary going here, right? In the mocks?
I think it was Greg.
Greg?
No. I have Malachi.
Oh, sorry. I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah, I had them trading out.
You had him down to 31.
Yeah.
You took Thomas.
There, Jeff.
There's Emma Murray.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, looking the next 3 days, roster-wise, what's going to happen here. Because once you fill these holes in the draft, there's still a lot of notable free agents on the market. So that second wave of free agency is immediately going to start to hit right after the draft. Whatever you didn't fill in the first wave and right here in the draft these 3 days, you're going to go back out there and spend a little more money if you have it. So it's going to be guys like Nick Chubb are still sitting out there. So there is a bunch of guys that are on the market, teams that are looking for running back. If they don't get the running back they want in this draft, which I don't know how you can't with the class they have, don't be surprised some of those guys start to cut off the street and get signed. So real interesting what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks for the draft.
I just want to say to the 500 people that are watching with us right now, we appreciate you because we've been on here for 2 hours and 48 minutes. And that's a long time to be watching 5 people gab about literally nothing.
Oh no, this is Christmas Day for us.
Sorry. To see Greg's Christmas Day.
Yeah, this is my Christmas Day here.
Well, I need to open my caffeinated beverage now.
Yeah, well. Well, you get this sponsored beverage. I have to say the one I can't show on camera.
I'm not. We're actually all of Team NBS is sponsored by Clean, so you are sponsored.
well, I don't drink Clean though.
Okay, or I'm also bringing the Bloom Energy, some new thing.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but it's brand new. It was like $1, so I got that as well.
You want me drinking on camera with the bottle and everything? Let's get a deal we're done with Fiji. I'll definitely.
Okay, bougie girl.
Shoot for the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll try to do whatever I can for you, Jeff.
Hey, by all means, I could use a lifetime supply.
Or a trip, either one.
Oh my Lord!
There goes the first guard, or your Jeff's number 1 guard.
There he goes. All right.
Yep.
So Jackson off the board finally, and he goes to Minnesota. But once again, you talk about Minnesota and the changes on the offensive line. They brought in a tackle last year because they had injuries and things of that nature. Here's a guy who can play tackle. He can play guard. He's an upgrade no matter where they put him on this offensive line. You're going to have a young quarterback. Got to keep him clean. Got to run the football. So definitely, he's a guy who falls to him. High value pick. We always talk about value for the pick. When you got a guy who you believe, we got a draft trade. The Giants, I think, could jump back into the first round. So here's
they have. They've traded with Houston.
Yes, I think this is where Shador may come off here. The Giants jumping back into the first. You want to get that young quarterback with a fifth-year option, come back to the first round if he's still hanging around and go get him. So we know that they privately worked out with Shador Sanders. This may be it. But, yes, going back and getting your tackle or guard, I think they announced him as a guard, so he's probably going to kick inside for them. But to me, no matter what, when you have a player you have high on your board and he falls to you, like I said, don't waste the time talking about the pick. You've talked about it for 3 picks. It's turned in the card. They wasted no time. They got their offensive lineman. They're a very happy war room right now.
Brian Flores is not going to be a happy camper, but Mr. Kevin O'Connell will be. And O'Connell is the head coach, so I guess he won that little debate.
Well, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow and the day after, I'm going to tell you if Brian Flores will be happy, because if he gives guys like a Landon Jackson, all right, let me turn around here, all right? You talk about, all right? You get him a Lathan Ransom or a Bowman tomorrow, or a Revel, or a Morrison, okay? You know, these are guys we could be talking about day 2 and go, wow, they're really landing some guys that are going to immediately help that defense. Looking at, like I said, Landon Jackson, Nick Scorton, Pierce, all right, edge rushers that they need to get younger up there. I'm talking about linebackers, right, coming into the middle of the board. You're going to start to see some of these guys on day 3. Lindenberg, Asante, Chris Paul, Oliver, okay? Some solid names that could come in and help that defense. Some of these guys aren't going to be world beaters, but they'll be good role players on that defense. So they're not
picking again until pick 97.
What's that?
Pick 97 is the Vikings' next pick.
Yeah. So they got some pieces.
Right back.
It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
When they get.
Right.
Because to me, the middle of the board, like I said, is loaded. All right. When you go all the way through the draft board, the middle of the board is loaded. Rounds 3 and 4 are loaded with talent. So if you're picking late, you're going to be picking with a lot of talent on the board. You just got to make sure you're picking the right talent.
We knew exactly where the Giants were going. Okay. We all predicted that this was going to happen. They were waiting their time. Bill's nodding his head. Please share your reaction.
So, Jackson Dart, right, from Utah, where he grew up. American Forks, I think, is the town where he grew up. Another tremendous 2-sport athlete. Was the Gatorade Player of the Year in both baseball and football. Goes to USC. Ends up coming in to spell Keaton Slovis due to injury. Has some good games and then some kind of rough performances. He is one of those guys that is very aggressive, sometimes too aggressive, both running the ball as well as throwing the ball. Played some safety I love to mention when guys played some safety. Played some safety in high school also. And it shows. He's a kind of a tough guy. Things you like about him. Once again, unafraid. Will try to put the ball into really tight windows. Sometimes too tight. Trust his receivers. He's got a lot of the same stuff that Jameis Winston had coming out, right? The big arm, the baseball background, toughness. A little more athletic maybe than Jameis, but similar in a lot of ways. But he also has some of the bad things that Jameis had, right? Trusts his receivers way too much. Will lock on to his primary and stay on his primary receiver a little too long. Doesn't work through as quickly as you'd like. But the components are there. Once again, tough, smart, big arm. If you coach him well, he'll be something. That much I can tell you.
Yeah. And Houston is smart by doing this because they pick up a 3rd-round pick, which they did not have in the draft. 99th pick. So they're picking in the top 100 again. They got the 34th pick as well. So this is a move that I actually did in one of our drafts at Randall, if you recall. I moved down to 35 for them. because again, they needed the 3rd round pick. They got that 3rd round pick.
Oh, definitely.
And
That makes sense.
Tyler Booker was off the table when the Cowboys took him. So, and I know Tyler Booker was a big time target for the Texans.
Randall,
sure.
I'd love to hear what your thoughts are for the Giants bringing in a QB when they've had so many problems there.
Yeah, I always thought that they would maybe wait till 2026 to go quarterback. I think Jackson Dart is a good quarterback, but he's got years until at least, 2 years for me till he is a NFL ready quarterback. So I'm not sure exactly what their game plan is, especially with Joe Shane and Dable pretty much on the hot seat. They could be gone by the end of the year. So I don't see Jackson Dart fixing their problem of being on the hot seat. But Brian Dable obviously came from Buffalo as the OC. Josh Allen kind of molded him. And I know a lot of people like to give Brian Dable credit for molding Josh Allen. But Josh Allen worked with Jordan Palmer and fixed his whole entire mechanics to become an accurate quarterback. So I think that they can just replicate Jackson Dart into a version of Josh Allen. And we'll see if that happens. But I think it's a risky move to give up a 3rd round pick in a hot seat at the moment for not a non-NFL ready quarterback.
I think the room is looking very crowded. If you ask me, you've got Russell there, Jameis Winston, which we're just there for the good word. So I'm definitely confused why. Maybe they thought tomorrow it wouldn't come. He wouldn't fall to them.
The Giants think they're on the move up. They think they're on the move up. Jackson Dart is their future quarterback. That's why they made this move to move back into the 1st round. Dart will give them the 3rd option as their quarterback right now behind Wilson and Jameis Winston. That's perfectly fine to do this at this stage of this draft.
Does that mean DeVito's gone? Because I know he was the 3rd one in the quarterback room.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Yeah,
he's gone.
The pizza guy is gone.
Yeah. All right.
I think this is a great question. Where do we see Shador landing?
Well, since my son was
Maybe right
wrong
here.
about Goldman, he's saying that the Rams are going to grab him. And if he's right, then he's going to be grounded for 2 years.
Oh. Atlanta went back in the 1st.
Who are you following, son? We need to know.
I'll have to ask him later because, see, I made a deal with him. Like when my oldest son turned 18, big Vikings fan, I took him to Minnesota. So I told my younger son, when you turn 18 that year, we'll pick a road trip for a Ram game. Sorry, Greg. He picked Philadelphia. Now.
That's a nice place to visit.
Yeah, but I go, if they don't play, because I know there's rumors.
Okay, the Falcons traded?
They get Jalen Walker and Mike Green would be nuts. Those are like the 2 targets for me in Atlanta at 15, and they get both.
Falcons traded your pick here, George.
Yeah, we lost George again.
That's okay. His team's not even drafted now.
Yeah.
No.
Fair point. So their 2nd round.
I was going to ask, if Falcons are coming back in, what are they looking for?
Right.
Let's hit their team needs, which are many, as we've talked about. A lot of defensive problems in Atlanta. And who is on the big board? I know, Jeff, you're sitting down now, but who on your big board makes sense to come in if you're trading to get a 2nd pick in the 1st round?
Well, there's still a lot of talent, right? So we talk about it. Tyleek Williams, if you want to go interior defensive line. TJ Sanders is another guy. You talk about edge rushers, Ezuraku, Green, Pierce, Scorton. If you want to go tight ends, a little early for Mason Taylor, in my opinion. Luther Burden at wide receiver makes sense. If you're looking for running back, Travion Henderson makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Judkins, if you want to pull him up into the 1st, makes sense. But they may be going safety, okay? Because you look at it, like I said, Eamon Watts, Starks, Bowman, all right? All those guys are there. So Atlanta comes in, they've made their pick. We're waiting for them to announce it, but they went out there, they spent money on safety. If they're not happy with it, get younger. There's plenty of young safeties. Like I said, this is around the range where you start pulling those safeties in. Where, to me, shouldn't be too many first-round picks still on the board. Maybe it's Will Johnson who fell all the way down this far. Right? Maybe they didn't expect him to be there and said, hey, let's go up and get him. So, that's definitely another thing they could use as a very good corner. All right, and you never have enough corners in the NFL these days.
Ain't that
right? With the way things are going. So I think there's a lot of different directions they can go to help that defense, whether you want to go front end, back end. We saw them go out there and get help with the pass rush. You can continue to add more. One pass rusher is not enough, so you need more than one.
I think they take James Pierce.
Well,
maybe Greg, you changed the narrative with 2 Georgia players in the first round.
Yeah.
I think they take James Pierce.
So that's an interesting room. Georgia and Tennessee in the same room.
Oh,
there it is, James Pierce.
There it is. Good for James Pierce getting in the first round with all the character concerns that I did not believe in at all, saying he just wasn't a people person. I'm glad that his talent overrode the quote-unquote character concerns.
I had him going down to those Commander clowns, but okay, I'm happy that he's a first-round pick.
Why'd you like him, Greg? Let us know.
Okay, he's 6'5". He has an incredible first step. His first step is he will beat guys off his first step. If they're not ready for that first step, as a tackle, you are dead meat with James Pierce. He also doesn't have a huge amount of usage at Tennessee because they rotated their guys so much that he's going to be coming in fresh. I don't care that this guy doesn't like people. You're a football player. I don't care that you don't want to talk to the press and all that jazz. Football. Let the guy play football.
Okay, we knew Greg was going to go there. We knew Greg was going to say, stick to the game.
Well, that's what
Don't
this is
tell me
about.
your favorite color and what energy you drink, okay?
That's right. This is football.
All right, Bill, what are your thoughts? I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, so I got a chance to be there, obviously, at the Combine, and James Pierce was one of the people who, a lot of people were interested in getting a chance to talk to because of all the stuff. And yes, he has 9 unpaid parking tickets, and yes, he pretty much admitted he doesn't really enjoy, all the sort of hanging around and talking stuff, frankly. He's not going to be the guy that asks how your family's doing and let's go out for drinks, and all. That's not him. He's just not that guy. But he's a heck of a football player, and particularly pass rush. He's one of the more developed pass rushers. There's a lot of raw pass rushers in this draft class. This guy actually is fairly developed. He can come in day one, and he knows he has a pass rush plan, A, B, and C. He knows how to set guys up. He knows how to use his hands. He basically plays the run on the way to the quarterback, but he's not bad against the run. It's just not his primary objective. So I think that he's in a good situation. I think that he's going to help immediately, right out of the box. We're talking about a guy that I wouldn't be shocked if he was like somewhere in that 5.5 to 7.5 sack range as a rookie, even if he's a part-time player, because he's, like I said, a very developed pass rusher. And as Greg mentioned, elite level get-off.
I feel like we didn't really give Jackson Dart his flowers for being one of the only 3 guys that have been really talked about and beating Shedeur Sanders possibly in getting drafted in the first round. I feel like that's kind of a big deal. So I just wanted to say that.
I think the Bills need to take this Shedeur Sanders kid because that guy that they got up there now, he just can't win the AFC Championship game. What do you think, Randall? Do you think?
Wait, if we're talking about AFC, what about Baltimore? On the clock, they've got problems closing out a complete season as well. So
yeah,
you telling me you're going to replace Lamar Jackson? Or
Well, I think Baltimore goes to Amanawari or Starks because they want to use they want to use a 3 safety set. They want to use a 3 safety set.
Man, Ebenworry and Hamilton would be nuts to have back there. That's just like it's a great duo. Just length, size, speed, hard hitting, everything. I mean, planning for that, I'm not quite sure how offenses will plan to get through that and where positionless ball for both of them can be.
Well, Kyle Hamilton would be in the back. He would be the back guy.
Yeah, and you let Ebenworry work closer to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I also won't be shocked if they take a pass rusher. Their pass rush, they've taken a lot of, once again, sort of raw guys. A guy like Mike Green, who actually knows what he's doing, would be a welcome switch. So I won't be shocked if they go pass rusher also.
Hold on, let's see what you have here, Bill.
Yeah,
Nick
I have
Ebenworry.
And I'm sure they'll consider him. And of course, I didn't think Starks would still be available, so I know that he'll be discussed.
Greg has Tyler.
I had him going with Tyler Booker, but
Jihad Campbell.
Yeah. A lot of Baltimore wants to clean up the offensive line because their depth is not. They don't really have swing tackles and interior offensive line they could use for sure. That's why I had Calvin Banks if he fell for versatility.
Curious, do you guys think Baltimore is bringing in offense, wide receiver, maybe later on in the draft?
Yeah.
Oh, they'll definitely draft some receivers later in the draft. Everybody's going to draft receivers later in the draft. Like, it's a really good bunch of second and third round receivers to be had in this draft class.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the need is also there for Baltimore. We can all agree.
So basically, remaining on my Buffalo list is Trey Amos, cornerbacks. And I'm getting a little nervous about Will Johnson not getting picked and him being talked about, I believe, on the media about his knee. So that's making me a little nervous. I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo went there.
It is not a knee issue.
Yep. Right.
It is not a knee issue with Will Johnson. However, there is a HIPAA issue involved, and that's why we're not hearing anything about what his issue is.
Yeah.
Issue's knee?
No.
It's hip?
He's twice. He's hurt his hip twice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Benjamin Morrison. I apologize.
No, Benjamin Morrison's hip issue is just fine.
Yeah.
Will Johnson has a HIPAA issue that nobody's talking about. It's a HIPAA issue. So that
they can't discuss it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, so we're about to find out what the Ravens got going on.
They might be taking phone
More
calls.
trivia?
There it goes.
First safety off the board.
There it
Now
is.
Starks.
Yep. Great pick.
It had to be either Starks or Inuara.
It's a great pick. And he immediately gives them options, right? He can do a little bit of everything. He can cover slots, cover tight ends, he can cover running backs. He's good coming downhill and tackling in the run game. I mean, other than not being a giant freak, I mean, he's a good athlete, not a freakish athlete, but everything else is there. He could be that guy who's a communicator and gets everybody aligned and arranged. Like, he does everything well.
I think I had Nick Scourton cemented here.
Is the pick already in?
No, for Detroit though.
Okay, then we're going to go to some trivia.
We are?
The time has come.
All right.
Okay. Tell me we can see it. This is the last question. All right. Can you see it? How many quarterbacks were drafted before the future Hall of Famer Dan Marino in 1983?
C5.
Yep. 5.
Single.
Okay, that was an easy one.
That was very easy.
And in reverse order, Ken O'Brien,
Todd Blackledge,
Kelly,
Gino Auriemma,
and the last guy before,
and of course, John, and the other John Albert Elway Jr. was the first.
Okay. All right. How many quarterbacks? Oh, that's the one I just said. Hold on. Which of the following QBs was not a member of the famed class of 1980?
Norman Julius Esiason Jr., also known as Boomer.
Boomer.
From East Islip on Long Island.
You guys are going too fast. You have to pretend like you didn't know it. All right. Is this playing? I'll throw one more at you.
Wait, there was like a Long Island to Maryland pipeline. Stan Gelbaugh, Frank Wright. Oh, here we go. Neil O'Donnell, all from Long Island, found their way to Maryland.
Which team has picked
Has
number
picked
one
number
overall?
one overall, a league high 4 times since 1999.
I thought it was going to be Jacksonville, but okay, I just they always pick in the top
Browns,
10,
right?
but
Browns?
That's got to be the Browns, right?
Browns.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Browns.
Lions haven't been that too many times.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
These are getting too easy.
Boy, this is taking a while with Malachi on stage and all this other fun sort of stuff.
Okay, so best players available for me. Yeah, so my best still availables include the aforementioned Mr. Nick Imamori, Donovan Izaraku, Mike Green, Luther Burden II.
I think Mike Green comes off the board to help out Mr. Hutchinson in Detroit.
Yeah, he's good. I agree. He comes off soon. Oh, and Will Johnson. So those are my top still available players.
Yeah. Because Dan Campbell will not care about Mike Green. He will not have those concerns.
Let's see where we're at.
You got Nick Scarton going to Detroit, eh, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
I've had Ezaraku there the 2 drafts prior to that, but yeah, I feel like Scarton or Ezaraku are both good fits. They need more pass rush. That's not really a surprise to anybody. Also, they could use help in the secondary. Will Johnson being there might prove too tempting. He's not my favorite, as I said. I told him I'm a big Jahdae Barron guy, but I could, as much as I love Jahdae Barron, I could see teams also liking Will Johnson. But he's, had some health concerns.
So they selected Tyleik Williams.
Oh,
okay. So they increased their DT room instead of an edge, which is fine because the DT also needed assistance for the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Tyleik Williams is 6'2" and 7/8". He's 300 34
20.
pounds, I think. He's a very strong DT. Again, is he going to give you the pass rush? I'm not going to say that. Yes, he will give you a big pass rush, but again, people always have this nonsense about quarterback sacks. It's more pressures on a quarterback that matter than the sacks do, and he can provide pressure.
Indeed.
I think pressure matters more on average to below average quarterbacks. Against the top guys, you want to get sacks, right? Pat Mahomes, you got to get him on the ground. Pressuring Pat Mahomes, it just makes the second part of the play happen. But against average to below average, Jared Goff, yes, pressure, right? You want to pressure Jared Goff. I mean, sacking him is cool too, but like there's certain guys that react to pressure poorly. But for some of those top guys, particularly if they're great second reaction quarterbacks, a pressure just sets up whatever's going to happen next. I'd rather get Pat Mahomes on the ground. But once again, it depends on the kind of quarterbacks you're playing.
Yeah, to me, it's about getting there consistently, right? If you're constantly hitting him, play after play, even if you only get one sack, but he's getting hit play after play after play, that's, to me, is how you really affect the passer, because now he's expecting to get hit time and time and time again. His eyes start coming down to see where the hits are coming from. He's going to be looking more on the rush, less on the coverage, forcing throws in the coverage because he's not seeing somebody because he's more worried about the rush. So while there are guys that can evade it, even when there are guys that only get sacked once, if you're getting hit on almost every throw, it affects them just as much as it does by getting sacked 3 or 4 or 5 times. They don't want to take that much contact in a game. It's like the boxer that gets hit by that jab over and over and over again. He's not going down, but he's feeling it and doesn't want to keep seeing that jab coming through his guard. It's the same thing with a pass rusher.
And you've got J.J. McCarthy, a rookie quarterback because he was out last year, and Caleb Williams is another young quarterback. And the Lions play those teams 2 times each. Guess what? Tyreek Williams is going to have fun putting pressure on both those young quarterbacks.
Yep.
So that's more of a divisional pick than anything else, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you want to beat your division first. You want to win your division first.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense.
Unless they start changing those rules.
The former tribe is on the clock. They're now Commanders, but they used to be a tribe. You know, we're not going to say the original name because, you know.
I'll call them what I called them. Oh, no, I can't say that word either. Right?
There's some excitement there, right? Because there are still some really good defensive players sitting there for them.
Absolutely.
Now, the medicals, right? We talked about on Will Johnson. That might be scaring people off. But Ezeraku is staring them in the face. Nick Skelton's looking right there. They've got some really good defensive talent available to them. And I could see, like I said, either Skelton or Ezeraku being brought in there. They really need help with the pass rush. They really struggled to get – you mentioned consistent pressure, Jeff. They really struggled to get consistent pressure on quarterbacks last year.
Yes. I'll tell you what. You're looking at how this board is shaping up. For a team that needs, safety help, offensive line help, edge help, receiver help, all of that's still there, right? So, and now you're getting to the point in the draft where these next couple of rounds, there's going to be a bulk of that around. And good players, not just guys, good players.
Right.
They may not be, all pros, but they'll be really good players. So where do you go? I had them taking D-tackle, but the D-tackle I believe I had them taking is gone. So you don't need quarterback, so that's not a problem for you.
Yeah.
But
I could see Mike Green going here because they need the edge rushers without Dante Fowler being in Washington. And Mike Green, Skelton, or the Boston College edge would be my 3 guys that they would go with.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of those are possibilities.
Yeah.
So we're down to the last couple of picks here in the first round, guys. The night's coming to an end.
Yeah, my anxiety's kicking in. just like last year, I sat and waited, till 10:45, and then we traded out twice.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very okay with it. I'll do it, but let's see.
Oh, go Ducks, baby!
Okay.
Connolly off the board. So when we talk about tackle help, right there it is.
Yep.
All right. So we see Connolly come off now. Let me go to my tackle rankings here.
Connolly was a guy I was high on from his sophomore season last year. He was fantastic for the Ducks. He was just as good this year for the Ducks. When we did the draft professor thing at the beginning of the year with Randall, who did I have? Jim had Connolly. Yep. I mean, 100%. It was an automatic guy.
Yeah, I agree. I really like it. He was very stout, and obviously everybody remembers the Senior Bowl rep with Mike Green, but Mike Green came with a plan because he needed to accomplish it so he could go home in the Senior Bowl. So, so that's like the only bad thing you saw out of Josh Connolly was that right there, and that's not even anything.
But Connolly was lined up on the right-hand side, and he
I know
left,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
So
yeah,
I
it was
care,
a zero.
I don't care what Mike Green did in that.
Yeah,
Senior Bowl
no, it
rep.
was a zero value on Josh Connolly. Mike Green just wanted to go home.
So you look at it, my top 4 tackles are all off the board, right? That's going to pull a lot of guys up tomorrow. So we've seen a mini run on tackles here in round 1. We're going to see some interesting ones over the next couple of rounds tomorrow.
Definitely. I think my next tackle for me is Durante Ursary. Available. Yep.
My next one up is Belton, then Trapillo.
Nice.
Then I have Ursary up there along with Grant. And then we get to the Emory Jones, the Savanayas of the world, the Carson Vincents of the world.
Don't talk about Charles Grant. I've told you this before. Charles Grant belongs to the Cowboys. Please.
You got to go 44 then. You got to get at 44.
I know. Yeah. I know. And now with us taking an old lineman.
Yeah.
If we don't go running back in round 2, then it's going to be like a Jack Besh type of wide receiver. So the Cowboys are going to be fine, but
Jack Besh would be a great pick at 44, in my opinion.
Or Elick.
You want that Canadian.
Elick would be heavenly for this Canadian up here, yes.
Yeah, I think he would fit very well. Talk about somebody getting any statistical value out of that offense this year was Elick Iomanner.
Or even if they end up taking Mason Taylor at 44, I'm happy.
Yeah. I know that Philadelphia, I know Philadelphia probably wants to trade out, but they're enamored with Mason Taylor and they're trying to get rid of Dallas Goedert. I don't think they reach for him here, but I know Philadelphia doesn't want to let him go.
Well, there's 3 minutes and...
It seems like they picked. Yep. There's the handshake by Brandon Beane, Big Baller Beane. No trade back. It could be Trey Amos. Trey Amos is my number 1 target right now, but I would think it might have been a trade back. I mean, Emenworry, I don't think really fits our defense that well, but he's an athlete. An edge would be fun because a lot of good edges dropped. So that would be interesting. I know they're enamored with Landon Jackson, but from what I heard with local reporters is that they were looking more of a trade up into round 2 for Landon Jackson. So maybe edge is an option here. Will Johnson, I think, was a pipe dream. So if they do not care about the medical, then that's probably the pick. Don't go Carson Schwarzenegger. From what I've heard this afternoon, I'd have to take a break. I mean, We have Matt Milano, and right behind Matt Milano is Dorian Williams, who I love. Dorian Williams. He's been improving every single year. Big hitter, heavy hitter.
Yes, he is.
So I have faith in Dorian. I think that we need a day 3 linebacker, especially somebody like Sean Dolak from the University of Buffalo, who got snubbed in all combines and stuff like that, but he had accolades and that broke records in the University of Buffalo. So I think that's a better addition than getting any day 1 or day 2 linebackers. But here we go.
Well, we're waiting for them to present the card. Well, to announce the pick. They've already presented the card. So, yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm looking at the way this is going. We're seeing certain players sliding out of the first who a lot of people thought would be top 10 guys. Okay, we got a special announcement. So this pick announcement's going to take a while. So, yeah, there are certain guys that you look at them and go, why are they falling? Well, we understand maybe now the rumors about some of the people's feelings about Shedeur are true. They really do feel that way about him. Okay, well, great. Will Johnson, there's an injury that we're not hearing about. Okay, well, that explains that. But some of the other guys are kind of interesting, right? Like I said, Campbell, we're now passing the sweet spot where I thought Jihad Campbell would go. What's going on there? Is it just because they don't feel there's no need to rush at that position because they don't feel that position's very deep this year? Maybe.
Yep. And they're really worried about his injury. That's what teams are worried about, is that injury.
Yeah.
So again, that's why Campbell's falling. The other guys, I think that Buffalo could look at edge, Brandon Swinson.
Yeah, for sure. If NFL sees him as a top 35 pick, I have him, I think, 50 on my board. I love Braden Swinson. He is a Bills guy. On the combine, he said, I'll do my 111th, and that's one of our mottos. Maxwell Hairston?
We'll see.
Okay.
It is. There it is. Maxwell Hairston.
Yep. Well, had to be a corner. Had to be a corner.
Had to be a corner. 4.3 speed. Dynamite on the outside. Good in man and zone. Very good in man. Definitely is a handsy kind of guy on the outside, but he wins with it. Good in zone. I like his speed. I'm not surprised, but I mean, he's got great length. I do love everything about him. There was a character concern that came up, and that's where I kind of took him out of my first round. But without that character concern, he is a top 30 talent for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. Defensive tackle and cornerback were the top 2. I'm good with it, so that you have Christian Benford on one side, Maxwell Hairston on the other side. We can fill out the rest of the draft later.
Yeah, my biggest concern with him is the physicality. The college game, they let you get away with a lot more hand play than the NFL. And that's when you're a physical corner coming in and it's very handsy in coverage, that's one of the hardest adjustments to make. So to me, that's the biggest adjustments he's going to have to make, is learning how to play without getting his physical at the top of the route. If he can just stay in phase and use his hips and eyes and more disciplined with his overall technique, I think he'll be a very good corner. If he continues to play handsy and thinks that he can get away with it, the Byron Murphys of the world didn't last that long as top corners, right? Because plain and simple, because the penalties just wear you out with teams. They can't take it for too long. That's a surefire way to not last your rookie contract. So I think
Hairston as a corner did not turn his head back to the quarterback well enough.
He played through the hands a lot, yeah.
Yep.
He was way too handsy, like you said. But again, that goes to the fact that you're not turning your head and looking at that quarterback. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and, we just traded Kaiir Elam to the Cowboys, right? And Kaiir Elam was our other first-round pick as a cornerback. And in that same draft, we went in the 6th round and grabbed Christian Benford. And one of them worked out. So maybe that's a philosophy, because we will definitely double dip in the cornerback market. We'll get a day 3 corner and then have, put that competition in place. We have Tre'Davious White, which I'm so happy he's back. Just on personality alone, I love that person so much. And then Dane Jackson's back. So the room's filled with a day 3 cornerback, and then they can kind of battle it out and see what happens.
My main issue, and was just talked about, is also Hairston as a tackler doesn't tackle. He just throws his body sort of at the ball carrier. as if he doesn't have arms. I think that's something that can be worked on, obviously, but he really needs to become a more sure tackler. You can't always just throw a shoulder at somebody and expect them to go down, especially at the NFL level. And as was mentioned before, yeah, he definitely uses his hands a little too much, and I'd like to see him. I mean, as athletic as he is, you can just use your feet to take parts of the field away. You want to use your hands a little and late, but he uses them early and often, and so that's where I want to see change about his way he plays, as a coverage player. But once again, a guy has strong background as a wide receiver himself. He tracks the ball fairly well. You can see that when you watch him. You can tell he's a guy that knows how to find the football, but he still has a tendency to play the man more than I'd like. And like I said, and use his hands more than I'd like. But except when he's tackling, right? In coverage, he uses his hands, but he doesn't use his hands when he's tackling. He just throws his shoulder at people as a tackler.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting move because the Eagles and Chiefs have dealt each other's first round picks.
Please let Kansas City lose in this battle so then Buffalo can be forgotten about.
It was so important, in your guys' opinion, that the Eagles needed to go up in order to stop the Chiefs from getting them.
Well, I don't think they traded with the Chiefs. It wasn't to stop the Chiefs. I think they were afraid of somebody coming up from round 2.
Exactly.
The Chiefs, they'll be fine with whatever happened with the Chiefs. It was what happens behind the Chiefs. And the
Eagles. I'm just going to guess it's Mike Green, but
it might
makes
be.
sense.
It might be.
Yeah.
The Eagles also give up a 5th round pick, which makes me happy. Tomorrow, I only have to hear 3 on Saturday. I only have to hear them 3 times in that round now. I'm good. I'm good with that.
It's only my 3rd draft, so I'm learning every time. Okay.
If this is Mike Green, this is once again Howie waving that Jedi mind trick, that Sith Lord mind trick of don't draft my guy. I want him when I'm up. So he is the master of getting picks to fall to him.
Let's see. You guys have Mike Green here. Oh, he was gone early for all of you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Far earlier.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you guys all had him around the same time. 15, 17, yep. Would you rank him? How would you rank him among the
edge players
that were taken earlier than him? Yeah.
So Mike Green, I had as my number 5 pass rusher.
Okay.
All right. So number 1, 2, 3, and 6 are all off the board. If this is Mike Green, this will be number 5.
Okay. So within the range.
Yeah. So Ezra Rocco was number 4. He hasn't been taken yet.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7 will be Nick Scouton. Right. He hasn't been taken. Number 8 will be Landon Jackson. He hasn't been taken.
The one thing I worry about the Eagles is they like the SEC guys. So is there an SEC edge that they're going to take here, or is it Mike Green who played at Marshall?
I mean, Landon Jackson obviously is an SEC guy, but I don't think you would have to trade up to get to him.
Right.
Scourton's an SEC guy.
Yeah, he's also an SEC guy. Yeah.
So is Swinson, but I don't see Swinson going this high.
Right.
I had them taking Mr. Swinson at 32, but
yeah.
I love that call out. If that happens right now, I don't know, that line might have been like plus 10,000. We could have made some money, Greg.
I don't gamble on these things, bro.
I don't either. I'm just talking it.
College names. He can't say
I know.
team names.
Right.
He can't bet on this.
Do we have a betting sponsor that we could throw out real quick?
Yeah, we do.
How much money should I be able to make for every time I say that school up north? From every Division I school in the NCAA, you should be paying me.
I kind of miss the FanDuel reads now.
You can bet with BetUS using
There you go.
BetUS Media.
There we go. BetUS.
We still got Yeti. That counts.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know who it is. From the Twitter sphere.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, well, he's coming out now.
Okay, are you ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
there we go.
My, yeah.
There we go.
It was an SEC defensive player, so
It was an SEC defensive player, yeah.
It's Howie Roseman.
Wow.
What
Yep.
a pick.
Wow.
I
Like, he
hope
can be on the
remains-
pup.
I hope he remains injured and banged up and all that other good stuff because Philadelphia deserves that.
Okay, we're scratching Greg's comments for everyone
Jihad
listening.
doesn't.
That's not
Jihad
nice.
doesn't.
So,
Yeah.
Jeff or
Hey,
Bill,
hey,
what are the pros here? We need to hear pros about Jihad here.
Well, the first pro is a pro, right? I mean, he's a guy that's going to show up ready to understand what is expected of him. He's been coached hard and well. He comes from a system and a place where you're expected to run a rather complex system. He knows what it's like to make adjustments to what the offense is doing. He's been the equivalent of the green dot guy in that he's the one that gets people arranged. He's a good athlete. He's a really good tackler. He can cover. He can blitz. I mean, he does everything, right? He's a do everything linebacker. He's big. He's not huge, but he's big enough. Like, he's bigger than average, though he's not a giant. And, once again, the only real question or knock is medical. He probably would have gone, if not for a medical concern, probably goes somewhere between 8 and 10 picks before this.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than the medicals, we talk about it. We're looking at the age where you have to have linebackers that are big and athletic, right? The small guys can't hide anymore behind the big linemen because, plain and simple, you're playing sub packages now, right? A lot more DBs on the field. So you look at him; he's a 6'3" linebacker who can go out there, play your mic. He can play the run very well. He's going to fill gaps. He's going to read and scrape and do all the things you want to do as a stack linebacker. But you can blitz him on pass downs and on third downs and do a lot of different things with him. He's like a more athletic version of a guy I liked in the previous class, Xavier Collins. So I think when you look at him, he is that stud of a backer. Where, like I said, you're going to line him up in certain situations, let him go after the quarterback. But most importantly, you can stack them and have them fill the gaps that you need them to fill. Does he come to Philadelphia and play outside a lot more? Maybe. I think he probably goes inside and fills in the gap there where he can be used a lot. But him and Zach Bond together are going to be an interesting mix because those are two big guys that are hard to run at.
Harry Roseman has done it again.
That is the Darth Sidious of the draft room. I'm telling you that right now. He is a mastermind of the draft room.
And even if I did say what I said earlier about him, no, I was kidding, kids. But again, Jihad Campbell could end up being a defensive rookie of the year. And there we go again.
Now, what'll be amazing if they turn around tomorrow, jump back up into the second round, early second round, and get Will Johnson, or one of the things. Because they did it last year. They go up there, they have the corner fall in their lap, they turn around and grab Kuba Dejeen. Right? It's like, how does he pull this stuff off?
All right, before we wrap up our show with the last pick of the evening, I just want to say thanks, everyone, for tuning in. It's been very exciting. Has it gone the way you've all suspected? I need to know.
Yes, it has not. There were some picks that I obviously nailed, like the rest of us, but I was surprised by some of the players that did continue to be available after I thought they'd be available. And then there were a couple of players, 2 or 3, that went well ahead of where I thought they would. And I truly believe that some of those teams panicked a little. I think that there are players that are perceived. Of course, each team perceives the draft differently, right? It's because each team is different. You do different things schematically. You do different things in terms of what you like and dislike. And even stuff like personality stuff matters way more to some teams than it does to others. But I knew this would not be a boring draft. I knew there'd be movement. I knew there'd be at least 3 deals in the first round. I knew that there would be some surprises, and I was glad, right? I mean, it's not as much fun when there was one year where I think I had like 9 of the first 11 picks, right? And while it made me feel smart, it was rather dumb. And this was quite the opposite. There was a lot of things where I might have been in the ballpark, but I didn't nail many of them. I only nailed a handful. So it was good to see that it was a fluid, interesting, surprising draft.
Yeah, I'm going to say, we always have guys that fall and we wonder why and all of that. But this year, I think it's a little different. We've seen guys go earlier than expected, and it was dumbfounding. We know that good players, we like them, but the value, right? Teams really liked them that much. And they said yes. Josh Simmons comes off the board, Ohio State. All right, so
bingo.
Kansas City gets their offensive line help that they desperately need. All right, so yeah, I'm really intrigued by what I'm seeing from teams that saying we trust our board. We don't care a darn what the outside world says. We believe that this guy is the best player for us, and here's why. And that's why he just got called, for us in this draft. I think, usually you have a good feel for what GMs are doing. They're doing a better job this year of hiding that. Okay, they're not exactly showing their hand like they've done in the past. So, kudos to these guys. I must admit, this is the one year where I look at certain GMs and I go, I thought I knew where I had this guy pegged and how he thought. He showed me something different this year.
What about you, Randall?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great point. It does seem like a lot of players were falling in everybody's lap. Like, there was trades to be made, like Jackson Dart trading up and things along those lines. But it seems like the positions that were going, it just kind of fluidly went, and a lot of people got their player that they wanted. When it came down to, Jihad Campbell at 30 and in the teens were an interesting part of this draft because a lot of people didn't want to be there, but then all those players started to fall to where they wanted to be picked or where GMs wanted them. So the 11 to 19 looked shaky, but then it ended up working out for all those teams. So it seems like we always said that like between 20 and 85 are pick your flavor, but it almost kind of started in the teens as well.
The Chiefs ended up with my number 1 left tackle. I had Simmons as my number 1 left tackle before his injury. I left him there. I didn't care about his injury. He is the best left tackle in this class, bar none.
I had him trading up.
Patrick needs to be protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no more Band-Aid solutions, right? They kept, just throwing a piece at something. No, they're going long-term with this one. That's a good idea.
And Joe Tooney having to go play left tackle in the playoff game was just that was horrifying.
That was disastrous.
It was bad.
Yep. Both Super Bowls they've lost is because of offensive line.
Yeah.
Ding. And when something that happens to you, you say, hey, let's not do that again.
But we can try one more time.
Instead, they went Oliver Twist and said, please, sir, I'd like some more.
Yeah. and I feel confident that they will pick, I'm going to say at least 2 more offensive linemen before this draft is over.
Yeah, I think that's a safe number to pick.
Yeah. So I think Mr. Shedeur Sanders will be picked 33rd and go to Cleveland tomorrow. Or 36th because they have those 2 picks. I think he ends up being a Cleveland Brown.
But we'll have to see what happens tomorrow.
Exactly.
Jeff, what's happening tomorrow?
Well, you're going to see for the smiling faces you just saw on the screen tomorrow. I'm going to be sliding into Ashman's chair, so we have to give her a round of applause for being a great night.
Yes.
Thank you.
Once again, holding it down, making it happen. So I'm going to try and do my best, but it's going to be the Scouts days for the next 2 or 3 days where you're going to have the 4 guys here, the 4 analysts, and myself. And so we're going to be up here talking about this from top to bottom, every pick. We're going to let you know what's going on with the teams, who's available, why we like the pick, why we don't like it. More people coming through to tell you about their team's drafts as well. Some analysts as well coming through. So we have some guest analysts coming through. Everything in the kitchen sink. So get your coolers ready, get your sandwiches ready, hang out with us for the next 2 days.
I like the smile at the end. And maybe he'll have a clean. I'm just kidding.
I won't have a clean, but
sorry. Maybe they'll have a blue.
I'll save it. I'll say like Blazing Saddles. I'm gonna look clean.
Yeah. We all showed out today. I feel like we all showed out today. We look great. Good job, Randall.
Thank you. Yeah.
Were you on last year?
No.
Okay,
Nope.
first time, looking great.
First time. Thank you. Yeah, I'll have the tie tomorrow. Because I was supposed to be part-time, but I appreciate you guys having me on the whole time. So that was awesome.
Dude, you had a big board. You deserve to be here, okay?
Appreciate
I
it.
think people are making a big board. They can be on the show. My call out. All right, everyone. Thank you. Had a great 3 hours and 46 minutes with this team here on Team NBS Media. And for everyone that's been watching, holding it down, 500 plus of you. It has been fantastic. We've had a great time. And the guys are so knowledgeable. You are learning every day. So be sure to watch tomorrow and Saturday. And like Jeff said, kick back, get your drinks, and just gab in the comments because this is tomorrow and Friday, Saturday are going to be the most exciting. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. We will see you again tomorrow and Saturday. Have a great evening. Go to bed if you're on the East Coast and get some dinner if you're on the West Coast. Be sure to like, subscribe, everything Team NBS Media on all social platforms. And we will see you guys tomorrow.